The Thinking Tackle Podcast.
Welcome to the Thinking Tackle Podcast. Now today we're joined in the studio by Carl Smith. And Carl is angling YouTube royalty and his videos have been viewed by literally millions of people. So without further ado, let's welcome Carl. Carl, thank you so much for making the journey in today.
That's fine.
Good to see you.
Too.
I think we really need to start this chat by addressing who isn't here. And this is the second podcast I've done in recent times where we've started off with this, obviously with the Monster Carp thing and Ali. Mm-hmm. But I mean, arguably, Alex is a bigger sort of absentee, isn't he, in that sense?
You could say it feels like a quite large loss because he's my brother, and we filmed together. We worked together, fished together, filmed together for 15 years, non-stop. With no breaks. The longest we went without filming a video together was maybe a month and a half. So we were like that, like properly, very, very linked.
What on earth did you do in that month?
I think he went on holiday with some friends or something. But yeah, because I worked with Alex so closely for so long, when he said, I think I don't want to do this anymore. I want to start my own thing. I want to go on my own journey. I was a bit like, no, this can't be happening. But it turned out to be for the best.
What, do we know that yet?
Yes. Well, I know that because he's told me. I think Alex was gradually losing his passion for fishing because it became his job, his career. I think there's people out there who they love their fishing, but to turn it into their career and to be involved in it non-stop every single day maybe becomes a little too much. I think everyone who does any job, they can have enough of it at some point. And whilst I'm a one-track minded, obsessive type of person, Alex is more of a butterfly. He enjoys flitting between hobbies. He loves trying new things, meeting new people, whereas I'm the sort of guy who's like, I know 3 people, that's enough people, those are that's my group. Fishing is my thing. And Alex's new channel and him breaking away from working with me gave him the opportunity to finally sort of make a video about one thing and then a completely different thing, and he's really enjoying it.
I love his stuff, the stuff he's done already, by the way.
I was going to say, I've been watching it as well.
A lot of
the van conversion is really cool, isn't it?
a lot of sort of my audience, shall we say, are like, his content is dead because it's not fishing.
Yep.
But for different types of people who enjoy different types of things, it's just cool because for a long while I think his self-esteem was held back in a way because he felt like everything he had achieved was because he'd done it with me. And when we look back on us when we were younger, it was kind of always I did something, got good at something, and Alex tried to be like, there's a big older brother, younger brother situation. And now when he goes out and does something, he's done it himself entirely. And I'm proud of him for that. And I think his self-esteem is building because now when he grows his channel to 50,000 subscribers in a few months, he did it himself, and he feels that, and I'm really proud of him to not only have the passion and determination to go and make it work on his own, but also to have the bravery to say, like, this situation with my brother is really working and it's quite comfortable as far as we're earning enough money to pay the bill, and then just go, I'm going to start something new. Quite a big decision in a way. And it did leave me a bit high and dry, if that's the right word. It left me a little lost because I was like, what do I do? Are people going to still watch my videos when we don't have Alex in them? I panicked. I thought, is Korda going to just drop their support for me? Am I going to be able to film videos on my own? Like, we've always done it together since we were 9 years old. And thankfully, the response has been very, very positive. I can't believe the number of people who are like, hey, look, man, like this sort of thing happens, and I'll still watch your films and I'm still enjoying. And the viewing figures and stuff on the videos, they haven't dropped. If anything, they've kind of increased weirdly. That's not to say that they're happy that Alex has moved on, but I think the channel has been refocused on fishing, and I've been able to get into big campaigns and stuff that I wasn't doing because Alex kind of wanted to be doing other stuff. So yeah, we're both focusing on our passions entirely, and it's both channels are doing okay.
Great. I mean, it feels a little bit from what you've said that there was a kind of not a parting of the ways, but in terms of the directions that you both wanted to go in life. How aware of that were you in the 6 months, a year? I mean, was it a surprise when Alex came to you and said what he said?
I was shook up. I was like, oh no, disaster, because I tend to get a little bit worked up about things. You know, we're out on a filming shoot and something goes wrong, and I've often in the past been like, oh no, this isn't in the plan. This wasn't supposed to happen. Oh, scrap all the footage. I hate this. You know, I can sometimes get a bit worked up about small things, and so there was that. But yeah, no, he showed signs of wanting to do his own thing for a couple of years, but I didn't think he had the sort of motivation in him to actually go and make his own brand, make his own channel, and make his own content. I thought he wanted and needed the support of the older brother, but actually turns out he's good on his own and he's smashing it, and I'm proud of him.
How did he have to work up to telling you, do you think?
No, it kind of just came out because we had an argument about who was doing the taxes for that month. Because like running a business with just colleagues is sometimes difficult. Running a business with family is, anyone who's ever worked with family members or even friends sometimes actually quite challenging. I mean, I guess you're quite matey with Elliot. You guys are good mates as well.
We met here a lot. I suppose I've known him for like 12 years or something. And everyone says don't go into business with your friends, don't they? Yeah. But I think one of you has to be diplomatic, don't you?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I guess.
But it always struck me that you were the ambitious one. You were the driving force behind the channel
for the fishing videos. Absolutely, Alex was the driving force to try new things and do things that hadn't been done in the fishing world. But yeah, my passion is fish entirely. And because I was still one-track minded, fishing and fish, it made sense that I continue the Carl and Alex channel, but rebrand and go forward with my own thing. And Alex be the one to start afresh, which was a difficult situation because I didn't want to do that. I didn't want him to have to start with 0 subscribers and try and build a YouTube channel from scratch. I was like, how can we do this so that you aren't inconvenienced? And he actually wanted that. He said, no, I want to start from scratch. I want to do what you did, Carl, 15 years ago and go online and start a new YouTube channel. And I want to do that whole journey, on my own. Me, on the other hand, I wanted Alex to still be involved with my channel. And thankfully, we're still brothers, we're still mates, we still get along. And he's come along with me on a couple of really awesome fishing trips this year. He's not been that bothered about the fishing. He's much more interested in wildlife and foraging and outdoorsy stuff. But that still worked. He can still come with me. He's helped film, and we've had really good times on the bank this year. Better times than we had when we worked together, which is interesting. The removal of owning a business together and running a channel together has sort of meant that when we go fishing together, it's just brothers going fishing, which is really nice. It's nice to get that back. And those films will be coming out later in the year. It'll be great because it'll be like kind of back together on the bank fishing. I'm looking forward to editing that together.
One thing, and it's probably such a small point, but that I noticed in your rebrand was your logo, and I found it quite sad because your logo used to be the 2 fish, wasn't it, circling each other? Is that right?
No, I don't. I think you might have might have seen something that wasn't quite there. No, I've always had the fish and the half moon, and it all stayed. Yeah, that all stayed the same.
Oh yeah, I thought it had changed. I thought you'd have taken when he left. Took one fish out, and then it was just.
That would have been quite funny. I've
given you a good.
No. My logo has actually always been the same since I was in school.
Oh,
I say
right.
based on the same thing. I had an IT class when I was in year 7, I think, and our teacher was showing us like how to use Photoshop. It was like Photoshop 1.5 or something version. Like,
Very early days.
Yeah, a long while.
Yeah.
It feels like a long while ago anyway, when I was back in school. And I just did with the pen tool, like a little fish shape and stuff. And as time has gone on, the color changed, and then I neatened it up a little bit. But I still, because the fish logo, it looks a bit silly and it's kind of childish, but I owe it to my child self, because I look back at that logo and I go, yeah, I've grown, but I'm still just that little kid that bloody loves fish.
Yeah, awesome.
So it's nice when I look at it and I'm like, yeah, still the same, still that silly little fish drawing I did when I was in school. That makes me really quite happy.
It seems quite fitting though, Carl, in a way, because your career spans years in which most people don't have a career. Like they're actually finishing their education and trying to find their way in life, and yet you actually started this at 14. Is that right?
Yeah. I first made a fishing video when I was 10.
Yeah.
Which actually means
how on earth do you have that?
Yeah.
The idea to do that?
Sometimes I feel like I've lived my life slightly in reverse, and what I mean by that is I've got a lot of friends, some who are quite a bit older than me, and they all say, I remember the days partying and university and girls and drink and having a wild fun life, and then they sort of settle down, get a good job, and start to save, start paying their mortgage and things, and it's sort of in that order. Whereas I look at it and I think back to when I was 9 or 10 years old, and my obsession then was with somehow figuring out ways to make money and be okay in life. And I suppose I look at my parents and I know they grew up with so little, and I watched them graft. Like, my parents worked incredibly long hours and both had very sort of high pressure jobs, and worked so hard for me and my bro so that we could eventually move out of South London, away from an area which wasn't so nice and they knew wasn't going to be the best place to necessarily raise us. And as a young kid, knowing the energy and effort that they put in to give us the best, I was like, I need to do this too. And from a very young age, I felt like I needed to earn money so that I could sort of pay my parents back in a way, or some duty to get a career and whatever. And I was doing that with with making videos and trying to make money from the age of, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 through to sort of 14, 15. I was on it to the point where I did not socialize. I did not have friends. And I definitely look back and there's some amount of regret. I'm like, wow, the hours that I spent in my room trying to start businesses as a kid, like I could have been having fun and like doing all the things that kids do. But I'm now discovering a work-life balance now, many, many years later. And in a way, it worked out quite nicely, because as a kid, I was mucking out the stables and picking up horse poo from a field to earn £1 so that I could save and do that. I did that for 200 days. That got me £200. I bought a laptop. With the laptop, I could edit video clips shot on my mum's camera. All of that period of graft meant that I felt as though when my friends were going, oh, I'm off to college, I'm off to university, I was going, I'm off to London because I've got my first job. And like I say, very, very focused, one-track mind. I'm going to build this business. I'm going to make fishing videos. I'm going to make this work as a career. And now, at the age of 25, 26, I'm now going, okay, in life, you can actually have friends come round your house. 3 or 4 days ago, I had my first party, you could say. I invited 4 or 5 friends round my house. We sat in the garden, ate pizzas, and had a few drinks, and sat and fed the fish in my pond. And I went, this is really nice. And it's like, this is the sort of thing, like my first party at the age of 25.
Amazing.
It's weird, or 26, sorry. But I'm loving it because I'm finally now in a place where I got the job side of things, and I've worked very, very hard for a very long time, and now I'm actually starting to enjoy life as well, which is really, really great.
Can I take you back?
I mean, yeah,
because it always occurs to me that people who have a vision or a purpose at very, very young ages tend to be successful, because if you narrow your field of interest at a young age, then you've got a long time to refine that and get it right. I don't think that I don't think I even thought about what I was going to do in life till I was 21.
Most people I know are exactly the same.
But the people who are the minority, like yourself, once you've decided and you go for it, you generally make a success of it, because there's something different about you, Carl, and people like you who start so early that for some reason there's something that sticks. There's an idea that sticks, or an ethos that sticks, and that is rare, I think.
I mean, you also see people who are very focused on one thing. You also see them burn out at some point. You also see, you take those characters that are working 7 days a week and grafting at something because they're deeply passionate about it and they have to make it a success. You do see those people have a breakdown or fall apart at some point because they've been so much energy has gone into trying to make a success of what they're doing. There's definitely a balance to try and strike, but that balance came about in 2019 for me, because I was working at Nash Tackle a lot. They expected a lot, and I gave a lot because I cared immensely about the output. Every film had to be better than the last one. Every shot had to be perfect, and I was deeply passionate, and I'd read every single comment obsessively. But at the same time, I was trying to build the Carl and Alex channel.
Because you felt like that might be an exit?
Not initially. I didn't initially think, this job in the fishing industry is a stepping stone. Not really, no. I just couldn't imagine life not telling stories and documenting my journey. Even now, I if someone said, you're not allowed to post another YouTube video, you're not allowed to, your next fishing campaign, you're not allowed to share that with anyone, I wouldn't do it. Oh, the other day I had someone ring me up. They said, this is a really great opportunity for you. Small lake, not far from where you live, bunch of big fish, not too hard to catch. You'll have a great campaign on there. Do a few months of fishing and you'll smash your PB, no doubt about it. And they're bangers, they're beautiful, unbelievable fish. And I was like, oh, sounds great, yeah. Can I video it for my? And they went, oh no, it's no publicity. And that part of me just went, I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna really enjoy my fishing. It's gonna be cool, but I can't. There's no way of me using that to inspire kids to go fishing. There's no way of me telling that story and sharing it with others. And whilst I talked about like being a kid and having really like basically no friends and not socializing and not being, being very introverted, there's always been a part of me that desperately wants to share and wants to, encourage others. Someone comes along and they need help with something. You're in the shops and someone goes, oh, I'm a pound or two short. I'm always that guy who's like, go on, have it. I can't hold back. I can't stop myself. Literally just yesterday, there was a young lady who was late for an appointment somewhere and she was lost. And I was like, oh, I'll just drive you there. Never mind the fact I was supposed to be filming. I was just like, oh, it's a couple of miles away. I'll drive you there. And that desire to share and help other people, I personally think comes from the time where I was younger. Life was very complicated, overwhelming. I was quite depressed and miserable as a kid for years. And I wanted that help. I wanted that support and I wanted people to be nice. So now that I have an opportunity to be nice and help other people, I'm like, I've got to do it because I know how horrible it feels when your life's just a bit rubbish, And yeah, like in other podcasts that I've done and in other sort of interviews that I've done with magazines and things in the past, they always go in with, so how many subscribers do you have now? And I'm like, I don't know, like, you just look. Or they go like, oh, and how much money do you make off of each? And I'm like, yeah, obviously that's important. Money is important in life. You've got to buy food and pay bills and things. But the thing that makes me do it is not that. The thing that makes me do it is that one comment you read that says, I watched this with my kid and now me and my son are going fishing together. Or, you know, I walked in and my son or my two kids were watching your videos on the iPad and they've just asked me, can we go fishing? And I'm like, yes, that's a child that's now going to have a hobby and potentially a passion that's going to connect them to nature, that's going to get them out in the world. It's going to get them away from that iPad or Xbox or whatever, which most kids spend the vast majority of their childhood sitting on. And to me, that's the most beautiful thing that I can possibly do. Mm-hmm. Because you were saying to me before this podcast that social media, how you know in the past you deleted Instagram off your phone because it's an energy drainer, or it's a distraction from, you know, it's a bombardment of stuff that you don't need to be putting into your head. And I felt so much that social media and the internet has damaged society and has hurt young people. You know, you take young girls who think, oh, I'm not good enough because my body isn't like those influencers and I don't look super pretty, so I have to buy all the makeup. It's a tool, isn't it? It's endless. Yeah. All the negative impacts, I think. Yeah, of social media. There was a fun. I mean, ironically enough, there was a reel from Ed Sheeran who was sharing his opinion on Instagram, and he says it's a tool. He said I use it to promote latest single, new album coming out, concert dates, and stuff like that. As opposed to, oh, my life is perfect. Everything's great. Exactly that, because then he goes on to say, he says when I see somebody post on Instagram a selfie or something about themselves, he said it breaks his heart, because he feels the need to reach out and go, you okay? Because that's not a way in which it's that person is having some kind of bad time in which they need a kind of some feedback or through Instagram, a pick me up and stuff like that, and they've got to a point where they've relied on Instagram for that, from comments or likes or anything like that. Yeah, and I got to the point. It was a couple of years ago. It was like during the whole COVID thing, because as everyone who was locked down will know, it's like when you sit in your house, you're like, what am I going to do? And you end up scrolling nonsense on Facebook and the number of things, the number of arguments, the number of just unnecessary drama that you just don't need in your... I was like, I need to get off of social media. I need to change my career, because my whole career is based around creating content, putting things on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. And I thought, I had this sort of existential situation where I was like, I'm in the wrong game, because this isn't a game that I like. I don't like social media. I don't like what technology is doing to young people. Yes, it's done beautiful, wonderful things to bring people together, but at the same time, it's damaging the mental health of a lot of young people. And then I stopped, and my girlfriend was like, yeah, but the stuff you put out, maybe that could be the change that you want to see on social media. And I thought about it a little bit. I thought, no, I still hate social media. But then I really, came full circle and went, well, if there's all this bad stuff out there that's influencing kids negatively, if I stop putting fishing stuff out, it's not going to change anything. No. People are still going to be comparing themselves to famous rich people on social media and thinking their life's rubbish because Stacey's got a nice car on social media or whatever. So I thought, okay, I'll just try and make the most genuine, honest, pure, happy, nice stuff that I can, that isn't going, oh, look at me, I'm amazing because I've caught big fish. It isn't going, oh, my life is perfect. No. And that's why I did a video a while ago talking about my anxiety and panic attacks. The fact that in the past I really struggled to be in groups of people. And when things have gone wrong in my life, I've been like, hey, look, I've made a video and gone, things are going wrong. Because to say online, yeah, the thing is, I'm actually really great. I could sit here and I could reel off some big fish that I caught once, but what does that? What does that do if it's not the full truth? So when I make a film and I blank for 3 nights, I say in the video, like, man, I blanked for 3 nights. I thought, maybe I'm rubbish at fishing. I couldn't figure it out. So that people get to follow my journey as it is.
I think it's really interesting and important to make the point that with influence comes, quite a great responsibility, Carl, doesn't it? And how much of a responsibility do you feel, now that you have these people who hang on your next video, to document rather than to polish what happens?
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, because it's seductive to chase more likes. It's seductive to chase more views and more like recognition, because the ego wants that. There's a part of all of us that goes, I want to be richer, or I want to be thought of more highly. I want my peers to be like, oh, he's such a cool guy, such a legend. You want that, but sometimes you just got to be like, nah, I messed up. I did something wrong, or I lost a fish, or I did this wrong, and admit that you do things wrong. And that's like the hardest thing to do. When you're maybe having an argument with a friend about something, and then you realize, oh, I'm actually wrong. the right thing to do is to hold your hands up and say, I actually messed up.
And does that lead to, I think it leads to people being more at ease with you. You're more credible because of that, I think. And actually, surely is the engagement better when you tell it how it is?
I've noticed in the past, in the early days of the channel, if we went out and we had we fished a few swims and they weren't very good, and then we found a swim, this is the one where the fish are, we'd just like delete the footage from the other swims. We'd be like, well, what good is that? That's no good, because we didn't catch from those bits. This is the good swim. So we'd film a new intro, be like, right, we're fishing today, this is a swim, oh look, we caught fish. And people would watch the video and be like, all right, cool, nice one, well done, congrats. And then we thought, actually, this is probably not the most real representation of what happened. So we started putting the bloopers in. Right, like the blooper reel wasn't at the end. The blooper reel was the video. And yeah, then we noticed people commenting, saying, "Oh, that happened to me," or "Oh, I'm glad you cast in trees because I did it the other day. It was well embarrassing," or admitting that you started off with a rig that just wasn't the right one for the situation. You reeled it in the morning, there was weed on the hook, and you're like, damn it, shouldn't have fished the bottom bait. I should have fished the chod all night. And then you say that in the video and people go, it happens to me too. And that relatability really, really helps, I think, because people are like, yep, that's me. That happens.
Yeah, because like you say, there's this conflict, isn't there? Because you're a filmmaker. You have influences from presumably across a broad spectrum of stuff that you like. But sometimes YouTube as a platform works better if you're, it's rougher, it's more real, it's documentary, it's reality.
Filmmaking has so many different parts, and I've taken inspiration, especially in my early films, from Hugh Miles. Hugh Miles was my idol, you could say. This was a guy who went out with a camera, somehow managed to get, just about enough money from the BBC to go and shoot a fishing series. And they went and did the impossible with Catching the Impossible. And I remember watching that and Passion for Angling and being like, I want to be that guy. I didn't think I want to be the guys on the camera, as in like fishing. I thought I want to be the one behind making a series like that is beautiful and shows fishing in its most beautiful way. And I made films a bit like that for a while, trying to get the beauty side of things, the wildlife, the sounds, the water rippling, glistening chalk streams, the vibe. And it did okay. People were like, this is nice, but it was a poor man's passion for angling. It was just a weak version because I didn't have the talent that he did.
Or the time.
Well, yeah, the talent.
Because that's a huge part of capturing.
That's true. Yeah,
stuff.
I didn't have the talent. I didn't have the time. I didn't have the experience, the equipment, and it was me and my bro filming ourselves. But over time, I certainly started to be influenced maybe by more popular stuff. So like I would watch skating videos. I never skated myself. I'm not athletic enough, and I would embarrass myself. But I'd watch skate videos, and I'd hear that breakbeat track, and I'd see the wide angle lens whipping around. I'd be like, that's cool. This is like kids will watch this. And YouTube, especially early on, was watched by young people in the vast majority. And I thought maybe we can make these videos a bit more fun, a bit more accessible and exciting. So we started to modernize it, much to the dismay of the audience that we'd built up, who were liking the quintessential angling scenes. The passion for angling brigade were like, oh, you've used horrible music in this, or you've cut too quickly, or you've made fishing too hyped up and street, so to speak. And then I, as time has gone on since then, going through my sort of time in the fishing industry, making films for companies and whatever, I've come to sort of a nice place where I really feel like I have my own way of making films now. Because you don't just have a style overnight. You don't just edit one video and you're like, yeah, this is my way of doing things. It takes time. And the point where I'm at now is the storytelling is the big bit.
Yeah.
Because I've got to the point now where I'll be like, oh no, that shot's out of focus, or it's not quite perfectly exposed, but it adds to the story. I'm going to use it. And yeah, one or two people might be like, oh, your filmmaking's not as good as so-and-so, or your shot was wobbly, but it's a minority. The main reason that that's there is because it adds to the story and it's real. People are watching it and it's actually there happening before them. And I want people to feel like they're actually fishing with me. And with the new channel name, Fish with Carl, I want people to feel like they are fishing with Carl.
That name was always, was that first on the list? Or
Fish with Carl, yeah. I mean, me and Alex were arguing about who was going to do the tax return and photograph and document all the receipts. And in the back of my mind, I was just like,
Fish with Carl can't have come up as you were arguing with Alex.
Yeah.
Did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I just saw it in the back of my mind, like, if he goes and does his own thing, and
that's
I'm not
not
giving up. Yeah, I know. No, it wasn't like the argument made me think, oh, this is the end. It was just like, just in case one day, and then a few days later it was like, yeah, I'm doing my own thing. But I mean, those sort of situations where I had to think on the spot and make quite drastic changes to my life had happened before. I can't remember the year, 2012 or something, 2011. I'd had a channel on YouTube. It was called Hooked on Fishing. When me and my brother presented the videos. We'd grown it to what we thought was a massive 4,000 subscribers. And actually at the time, like Korda were on like 10,000 subscribers. So this was like the early days of fishing YouTube. And we felt like, wow, we'd really made something. And we were so obsessed by it, and we were growing it. And then we just like logged on to YouTube, and it said the password was wrong. And we're like, no, it's not, it's definitely right. And then I went on to YouTube, searched Hooked on Fishing, and the channel was there, but there were no videos. And I reloaded the page, the channel's gone as well. And I remember we were kids, and our love, our pride and joy that we'd spent our whole childhood filming and editing and posting these videos was just disappeared. We were like, no trace of it. And we searched for the videos and they wouldn't play, and then they played a bit and then they just disappeared, and we were like, what's happened? And we just sat there like, well, we've just spent years doing this and now it's gone. What do we do? And Alex was a bit like, doesn't matter, does it? It's just a YouTube channel. It was kind of like, he was gutted, but he was like, well, we don't need to do it. We're not earning any money from it. We've lost a lot of money on this YouTube channel. We're kids. Like, let's just have a nice life and stop working. And I stayed up all night, made a new channel, made a video explaining what happened, made a new trailer, and shared it on every single platform.
That was Carl and Alex.
That was the Carl and Alex channel, and I shared it on every forum I could find and tried to like explain what happened to try and get things moving again.
So what had actually happened? Like YouTube channels don't just disappear.
No, I know. So I eventually got talking to someone from Google, because it was at the time when Google bought YouTube.
Yeah.
And there was some sort of transition thing where we hadn't seen this thing saying you need to make a Google account, because YouTube accounts now exist within a Google account or something.
Yeah.
Eventually I got through to this guy and he was just like, oh no, your channel's still there, it's just not visible. And I was like, can you get it back? And they were like, yeah, we can get it back. It will take us a few weeks, but we'll pass it on to the technical team. And by this point, the new channel had been launched and we had like 500 subs on it. And I thought, it's like now the old one comes back. And I like Carl and Alex more than I like Hooked on Fishing, because it's cliched. So I just said to them, don't worry about it.
Oh no, so you did let it go.
Yeah, so I had to let that channel go. But then, these things happen.
Yeah.
And the sort of hurdles, they make you stronger. And I mean, God forbid if my channel got deleted now, I'd know what to do. Make a new one, start it all again. Do you know, like, you've got to be like that. You can't. I've got a lot of friends who I was with at sort of like college, uni time. Like I didn't really go to college or uni, but I know them, and they were also interested in YouTube, and they were sort of making channels and stuff. This is still back in like before YouTube really was a big deal, and we were all talking in college like, oh yeah, one day YouTube's going to be this big thing, we're going to make money from YouTube. And like, no, there wasn't professional YouTubers at that time. Like, I think I had more subscribers on my Carl and Alex channel than PewDiePie or KSI or Logan Paul and those lot in America, those vloggers. Like, they didn't even have a YouTube channel. And like, I remember just talking to them like, it's gonna work, it's gonna be amazing. And some of them were like, yeah. Anyway, the people who kept at it, the people who just didn't give up, they're all pro YouTubers now. Like a kid at my college, he now presents like for the boxing or something, and has a YouTube channel and a podcast and everything. He just didn't give up. All the other kids who were like playing around with YouTube and gaming videos, they just sacked it in because after 3-4 years they weren't making any money, and they just decided that they didn't want to do it anymore and just gave up. So the single factor involved in making YouTube a success is to just never stop posting videos, because the minute you post your last video and go, oh, it's too much effort, well, that's the end.
The situation that surrounded the loss of Hooked on Fishing kind of feels a little bit like Carl and Alex in microcosm from what you've described. Alex would have drifted away, and you made a channel that forced him to stay by having his name in the title.
I guess, yeah. History repeats itself, and yeah.
He had no choice,
and
really, did he?
Here we are now. Now he was absolutely integral to the growth of that channel and the growth of the channel up until very recently, when he decided to move on. Because whilst he wasn't necessarily as passionate and obsessed about the YouTube and the filming and stuff, he was really good at it. And I could go fishing for the day and have him video me, and I just knew every shot was going to be bang on, and I just knew he was going to capture the moment perfectly. I could point the camera at him and know that what he was going to say would be quite funny, and then he could take the footage back to his house and edit it, and I just know that that's going to be a great video that I'm going to be really happy with. And finding people like that in this world with talent like that is so difficult, and it took me a long time to find someone suitable to help me out with the channel going forward. I needed to keep uploading, I needed to keep my the business side of things, because you think, you just make videos, stick them on the internet, make money. Nah, there's all of the complications of that anyone who runs a business has to do. So my girlfriend was like, I can help you. So I helped her quit her job at the garden centre. So now when she waters plants, she waters the plants in our garden. So she's very happy about that, because she gets to do that. And then her sort of day job is staying on top of all of the emails and admin things. And then I also found a guy called Cal, who had just done a couple of videos on his YouTube channel. he had some pictures on his Instagram, and he messaged me saying, do you need a hand with any editing and stuff? And I was like, yes, please. And thankfully with him, he's very much just starting out, but shows a lot of promise.
What do you like to work for, Carl?
Oh, well, Alex quit.
Because we have Cal on the phone to ask him.
Oh no, no. I'd like to think I'm pretty easy. I wasn't in the past. I know the hardship that Alex had to go through when I had a vision of how a film needed to look, because I was militant. A perfectionist. Being a perfectionist isn't the great thing that some will make it out to be. You know, people go, oh, you got to be a perfectionist if you're going to thrive and stuff. And actually, perfectionism holds you back from thriving in many ways. And I'm now at a point, I filmed a video the last couple of days just before I came up here, where everything went off plan. I had said, oh, we'll fish this venue, we'll catch this, we'll fish this venue, we'll catch this, and we'll finish off and it'll end like this. And nothing happened like that. But the best parts of the video were where it just went completely off-piste, and we ended up like up to our neck in brambles, fishing a spot which we didn't expect to be fishing, catching a chub off the surface in a dried up bit. And I was like, I could never have planned this chaos. And I'm realizing now that to rein back the perfectionism is to say, I'll make the most of everything that happens. And that's what I'm doing now. So I think I'm better to work for now with Cal. I remember when I was sort of heading up media at Nash, the thing that held me back, the thing that caused issues, was I wasn't firm enough. I didn't have like an iron fist, or I didn't have a part of me that would really be serious with people. I'd try and be nice because I was bullied pretty bad at school, and the slightest hint of aggravation or negativity from another person in the room just kind of would set me off a little bit. And confrontation, freaks me out, because I'm thinking someone's going to come over and punch me in the face. So I would not want to be too critical of other people's work. And in hindsight, when I look back, some of the films which we did, I was like, that's not good enough. But I'd say to them, yeah, well, it's...
And it does neither in the end.
It doesn't help, yeah, because in your head you're going, it's not good enough. I want to tell this person, you need to buck your ideas up. You didn't work hard enough on this, or you but what comes out my mouth is it'll do, I guess.
And they don't benefit as a result.
Yeah. So with Cal, I'm now feeling eventually like I need a level of attentiveness and work ethic and determination, and I need you to push and I need you to graft. But at the same time, when you mess up, I understand. I mess up too. It's fine. But Alex had a few years where I was probably not so easy to work with, because I was so stressed out and because I wasn't in a great place in my head. And Danny's actually been talking to me quite a bit lately about his Thrive program, about the things he's learned about how your brain works and how you can manage stress, how you can stay calm in difficult situations, how you can be prepared to cope with what life throws at you. And you look at Danny and how he used to get on shoots in the past when things weren't going well. It was...
Yeah, no, I've been on those shoots. Yeah.
And now this guy is so composed, makes the best of every situation. And that's through understanding how your brain works, and it's through learning mechanisms to cope with those situations. And I'm doing that better than ever, and it means a lot to finally be a better person to be around. Definitely.
Do you think that because your kind of career outstripped your development as a human, if you like, you rocketed to kind of a degree of, I'm going to call it fame, at a very young age? How do you grow up properly in that environment? So
the first thing about fishing is that you're never really a famous fisherman. Whenever you hear someone say, "Oh, he's a famous fisherman," it's kind of like, it's a stretch.
I'll never forget it. It was what Julian Cundiff said when he came up the first time. He said, "People in fishing that think they're famous don't realise how very small that can be."
Yeah, but I mean, within the niche, I understand exactly what you're saying, and it wasn't really much of a big deal when we were younger, to be honest, because the viewing figures weren't particularly large. There wasn't an awful lot of people watching. As a 14, 15-year-old, I wasn't being recognized on the street. I wasn't having people come up and ask for photos or autographs. None of that happened. Well, I was a small-time, tiny YouTuber. But what did affect me at that age, and younger than that, is comments, negativity, people attacking you because they disagree with something that you did. And I think if people knew how it can feel to be accused of things that you've never done, or to be just ripped into and I say verbally abused. It's not really abuse, it's on the internet, but like people can be savage on the internet. And we used to make those videos as kids, and people used to put comments, oh, you're this, you're that, and all of the swear words in the book. And as a kid, you can sometimes take that on board and be like, oh, maybe I am a dreadful person. Maybe my video was so dreadful. And so that negativity was maybe a little bit unnerving. There was times where other YouTube kids of a similar age were deleting their channels because of people slagging them off, because they'd get a comment that hurt their feelings and they'd be like, oh, I can't do this, can't hack it, delete the channel. But there was always a fire in me that the same fire that used to like fight back when I was picked on at school. That same fire sort of came out and went, oh no, these people were saying, delete your channel, your videos are rubbish, you're crap at fishing and blah blah blah. There was that bit inside me that went, no, I won't let you win. I'm going to keep making videos, and I'm going to keep making them until they are good, until you like them, and I look back to those early videos and I think of the kids. I think of like kids in the area who were, slagging us off and saying that our videos are rubbish and threatening and stuff. And I know full well that they watch the videos now, because I've met some of them, and they're like, you know what? I actually am quite sorry. and we, people have sort of come full circle, and I've come full circle as well with that, because I used to get so down about, a couple of negative comments, people saying that I was rubbish at this and that and being rude. I used to have really bad acne, like proper bad, like all over, everywhere. My entire face is red and raw and bloody. Sometimes it'd be like, oh. And people are savage on the internet.
It's casual, isn't it? It's casual comment for them.
They just stick a comment going, oh, your face looks like a pepperoni pizza, or you'll never get a girl because you look horrendous or something. And it's just be like, ouch. And as a kid, you take it on board a bit more. Now I've got to the point where people put a comment about how I'm so lanky or look like a starving Ethiopian child, because when I wear my tight t-shirt, it's why I like wearing this. Yeah, it doesn't show how skinny and concave I am. But I see a comment like that, I laugh. Yeah, I'm just like, mate, funny, good one, you got me.
Can I ask, Carl? I have cause to reflect on what you've said, and quite often think about. I've got a young daughter. She's 5, right? And I constantly cast my mind forward and think, how is she going to navigate the social media world, the WhatsApp culture, the 24-hour bullying, or whatever it might end up being at its worst? How on earth were your parents dealing with the fact that their 2 sons had put themselves in harm's way? Were they even aware of it?
I'm really not so sure about this, to be honest, because they always seemed... So you could tell they were concerned. Maybe they were a bit like, maybe.
Did they understand YouTube at the time?
I don't think so. Not enough to see where it would necessarily go and what the repercussions could be. Because now we've had people like turning up at my parents' house trying to meet us, and now they're like, all right, that's kind of weird.
Does that actually happen? Really?
Yeah.
That's mental.
Yeah.
How do they find them?
Well, I don't know.
That's the other concerning thing.
Well, you can find out where people live if you want to know it enough.
Smith, I mean, come on, Smith.
Yeah,
yeah. But like, there's got to be a few.
Having, yeah. I mean, I was more aware of it, I think, than my parents were, as in what the repercussions could be of being on the internet. As a as a very young kid in like primary school, school computers were hacked, and I saw the most atrocious, deep, nasty stuff. And from that day onwards, I was totally aware of what humanity, the darkest part of humanity. And when I say like picture the very worst thing that you could ever see.
Kind of got, okay.
Yeah. So I was aware of it. I was like, wow, the internet can be dangerous. There's people out there who will do things that are horrendous. But for some reason, I kept going and kept being like, no, but I want to be this. I want to be a good thing on the internet. I want to, and then there was a time I was asleep. It was, I must have been midnight or something. And our home phone rings. And I sit up in bed and I'm like, I wonder if the phone ringing will have woken my parents up. And I creep out and I see that their light's still off in their room. And I'm like, all right. I listen to the answer phone message because, the answer phone comes out loud. And it's just some kids who've somehow got our number. I still don't know how. And they're going, oh, I'm going to kill your parents. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And your videos are this and that, and slagging us off, and just abuse pouring down the phone. And I run down the stairs as quick as I possibly can, end it, delete the answer phone message, and run up to bed. And my mum's just like, someone phoned in the night, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know, because I wanted,
were you when that happened?
I wanted to protect my parents from realizing the not so nice part of the internet and what people can do. But
sorry, how old were you when that happened?
I'm trying to remember. Probably like late teens, mid teens, probably.
It
like
just
15
feels a lot like you've contained an awful lot of this stuff and protected the people around you for a long time. Even Alex, probably, I guess.
Also, I used to delete comments that were critical of my brother's ways. He sometimes can come across on camera a bit camp, or he can say things which are a bit wacky. Which was great he's brilliant. That's what it's one of the reasons why he's quite an entertaining kid. That's why I want him back in my videos from time to time. It's why we organise trips together, because I love him. He's great. But I would try and protect him when we got comments slagging him off. I'd be like, hide comments, just because if it said something about me, I'd be a bit more like, because that's me. I don't mind about me. I want to take care of the people who are around me. But the broader picture, because I've just run through some of the not so nice bits.
Of course.
But that was the early days of the channel, and we had a lot of issues, shall we say, in the early days of the channel, because we'd go and make a video on a club lake, and then the local boys would be like, oh, they've made a video and the lake's gonna be known now, and it was our club, it was our little club, and now these kids have come along, and we caught a record fish. My brother caught the biggest fish in one of the lakes. And it all kicked off. People like the more mature members of that club were all really angry, and they wouldn't let him. They said that he lied about the weight, and it was all this drama and stuff. And then that followed up with like threats that if we ever film another video on one of their waters, they'll break into our car, or they'll set fire to our bivvy in the night. It's like early days were just dramatic.
One thing after another.
Honestly, I feel like my career on YouTube is one thing after another. And then forums, that Carp forum used to be like, I'd go on it and I'd feel like I was going to cry when I finally came off of it. Because there'd be a whole thread with 10 pages, 20 pages of people ripping into us, saying, oh, the only reason why they have done well on YouTube is because their dad works for the BBC and their mum's a professional cameraman. I was like, no, neither of those things are true. Mum's a teacher, dad's a gardener. And then it slowly just, it sort of crossed over. All the negativity just slid away and was replaced by people being like, your videos are great, I really like watching them, I watch them with my kids. And now it's literally 99.9% full blown beautiful positivity and love and support. And I'm like, wow, that's so beautiful that it came good. Like the last 2 or 3 years, we have had no drama. really. No, people haven't caused us any issues. People have been so supportive and nice. And to be honest, the videos in the early days were rubbish. So all the people saying, "Oh, your videos are crap," they were actually right, because they were. You know, they weren't very good. So you got to come through that difficult phase to come into the phase of things going well. And
so looking beyond
reward,
what will we see, Carl, in terms of Alex's like legacy, in terms of the way the films are made? How will your films change now that you're the kind of the sole creative direction?
So instantly, films about keeping bees and films about foraging mushrooms. I'm not
to Alex.
Yeah, I'm not making them. Yeah. I'm not interested in that really. The closest I've been to being interested in bees was when I went round to my parents' house and Alex was in the garden shouting, "My bees are swarming!" And they were all going across like the tree, and then they're going across, and he's got his camera, and they're all landing on the camera. He's like, "Carl, help!" And I'm like mildly allergic to bees because I've been stung by like wasps and things and bees in the past, and I've just swollen up to the point where I've got slits for eyes. Oh, horrible. And he was like, grab the camera, get some footage. And I'm like, they're buzzing all around me. That was quite exciting. But yeah, so videos like that, off sort of away from the world of fish, I'm not really that fussed by. I'm Fish with Carl. I am obsessed with fish. So the actual topic is obviously more focused. Yep. I'm going for more challenges. When I was filming with Alex, we sort of wanted to go out, spend a night or two on the bank, catch a few fish, get our funny, silly, just us being ourselves. I'd point the camera at Alex, he'd say something stupid, I'd laugh. Wonderful, we made a video. Now I'm like, I want to push myself. This season I've been fishing a really difficult water. Did like 12 nights for a bream. And just wanted to up the ante a little bit with my actual angling, because I'm an obsessive angler, but I was previously focused more on like making the films. Now I'm like, I'm going to keep making the films, but I want to do bigger, better projects, fish harder, more interesting venues, shall we say. But the legacy of Alex's involvement is probably humor, because I don't think I'm particularly focused on like the entertainment and sort of fun side of it. I can sometimes get a bit obsessed with the fishing. And I'm like, I bait the spot and then I put the rig on it and then the split fish spook. And then Alex just wanders into the swim like with his wellies on, stamping his feet, and they spook, and he's just like, never guess what I found. And he's just, so that sort of relaxed fun element, I want to keep that going. And that's why I'm really looking forward to making lots of films with like other people. Because I'll do my campaigns, I'll do my solid fishing normally on my own, maybe with like one other person who takes their fishing quite seriously as well, and we're out there and we've got a mission, and that's great. But then the videos in between, like I go out with my girlfriend and sometimes do some fishing, and I'm like, oh, I'll film that because it's good fun. It's always good fun taking her fishing, because she'll get hyped about catching like a gudgeon that's an ounce. And whilst I'm a bit like blasé these days because I've caught a lot of fish, she's over the moon with it, and I love to see that. So yeah, fishing with other people and having a good time is going to be key in future. Are
we talking like, are there going to be like, in inverted commas, big name like guests, or you're going to bring people on who are going to have different style to you, or is it going to be your friends? Like how do you see that playing out?
I'll go fishing with anybody who I like.
Yeah,
pretty much. Anybody who's a good guy.
Yep.
You won't see any videos of me fishing with people who just want the the shout out or the screen
reflected
time.
glory sort of.
They're not so interested in that. I'm happy fishing with. Like I fished with my buddy Ryan. He's just had a kid, or I say just a few months ago. About a year ago. God, time flies. And yeah, like probably one of the. He's going to watch this. Probably one of the worst anglers I've ever fished with. I'm so sorry, Ryan. If you're watching this, I'm so sorry. I don't mean it personally, but like he is a calamity. You watch him fish, and it's just pure entertainment.
Yeah.
But I love him because he's been there for me for so long. So I I film videos with him because I'm like, of course, why wouldn't I? You know, great. It's just a brilliant guy, and I don't care that he's, you know, he hasn't got a catalogue of 40 pounders in his album. He you know, I just don't care.
Character though, right?
Yeah, just a good, genuine friend.
And do you go fishing with Ryan, let's say, without your cameras? Do you ever go without the cameras?
Sometimes. It's rare. It's really rare. This year, I haven't done it yet. I will, because I have to. Because when you're making a video, so that you got two options when you go out on the bank. You're like, I'm fishing and I'm going to film it, or I'm filming the fishing. I don't know if I've explained that very well, but you're either trying to get every shot and make sure that you get all the pieces, and you fly the drone to get the intro shot, and then you think your mind is on the film. The fishing just has to sort of be an afterthought in a way, or it's the other way around. And you're fishing hard, you're trying to catch, and then the footage probably isn't going to make a film because you haven't really focused enough on it. So almost every single time I go out, I have a vision in my head. I'm like, I want to make a film about this. I want to capture the moment. I want to share this with people. But then once in a blue moon, you really want to get out there and just leave the camera at home and just do it for the love of it. And I do that every now and then, and it's great. It's really great. I love it hugely. But it's always when you say, I'm leaving the camera at home, I'm just going to have a good time, I'm going to fish and relax, and then you just go and catch something amazing, or something happens and you just can't believe what you just witnessed, and you go, get the camera, oh, the camera's at home, damn it, and then you kick yourself. So that's why the camera comes with me the next session.
So I think throughout our chat so far, and certainly before the cameras rolled, I get this sort of sense that because you're very much the driving force behind the thing that sustains you and me now as well, and Cal. Mm-hmm. But even when it was just you and Alex, I get the sense that you were running on fear almost, that it could finish at any time, and actually you need it to work. So in terms of ideas and future projects, I presume you can't just switch off. You're always thinking, you're making notes, you're exploring ideas.
I think you're right about that. Whilst I was sitting downstairs waiting to meet you in the reception, I messaged a friend of mine and said, do you want to go out to Sweden next year and try some fishing out there? We started researching venues, talking to people on the ground and planning that. And there's never a time where it gets to January and the entire year isn't booked up with stuff.
Right.
Since I can remember, there's never been a time where I haven't in January gone, cool, I better rest a little bit this month because this year's going to be big and exciting. And like already next year, I got trips to the States, to Netherlands, to Sweden, and then a load of cool, maybe slightly unusual video ideas to do in England as well.
And how fully do you storyboard these things? Because you seem like a person who's very visual. You're image led. You said you have an image in your head of how you want things to unfold. Yeah. How close to that image do you try and stick, and how full is that image?
So the picture I have in my head before a shoot is always and I keep using the word, it's such a hippie word, but like the vibe. Give me another word for it. I don't like using it. I've got a feeling.
Yep.
There's a feeling in my head. So you imagine how the Redmire film, Passion for Angling, how does that feel? There's like a color scheme in your head, I assume. The reddy orange, burnt umbery water. Mm-hmm. There's the blue and whites of the mist, and there's the slight yellowy greens of the willows. And you're like, there's this color scheme of atmosphere.
Yeah.
So I'll leave and I'll be like, I'd love to capture a certain feeling from this. My most recent video that I shot was a collaboration with some other YouTubers who live up in Birmingham, and the feeling which I wanted from that was just laughs, silliness, competitiveness, and there was sort of a picture in my. I'm not talking about like it would be too regimented, but there's just a feeling that I want to capture. Like, so I made a video where I wanted to go out and capture the magic of a winter's day. It was snowing and I was going to go down the canal and I was going to catch a carp. And I just had this vision in my head of how I wanted that to be. And it was all whites and blues and, cool, that sort of like icy cold feeling, going out into the weather and wiping the snow off your windscreen. And what that video ended up actually being was like this transition from that through to beautiful warm colors, because I met a girl whilst I was there and I fell in love. Like, you can't plan that. You can't be like, I'm going to make a video today where I'm going to meet my future girlfriend. But
unbelievable.
But as the day evolves and as the shoot evolves, you have to be more. You have to learn to be malleable and adjust. And there's been days where I'm like, this is going to be a really easy session, so I'm going to focus on filming all this other stuff as well as the fishing. And then actually the fishing ends up being really difficult and it ends up being a graft session. So it all changes on the day. I don't storyboard unless there's a certain sequence that it need, for a title sequence. Maybe I'm like, all right, this is going to start with this sort of drone shot coming from above, or it's going to start, I have a rough idea, but I don't sit down because I feel like if you write a script for a video and it's like, it's going to be like this, it doesn't end up like that, and it just feels wooden. It feels too formulaic.
So that I certainly get that now. A couple of things you said made me think maybe you have an iron grip on what this video is going to be, but actually it's a feeling.
In the past, it was more of a In like the first few years of making videos with Alex, it was I did have a notebook, and it was like close up of float must go, float goes under, wide shot of. But that once you've learnt filmmaking, once you understand the concept of how you tie a film together, then you can go out with a camera and you can be like, right, shoot this, and it all comes together. But when you're starting out, you have to be like, right, remember to do this, remember to do that. And now it's more of just it happens a lot more naturally.
You mentioned meeting your girlfriend, Omi, and obviously I'd encourage anyone to go and watch that video, because I mean, this is the kind of thing that you hope that you can't ever hope to capture, right? The moment that you meet
that.
No. So at what stage did Omi become aware that you don't lead a normal life, and that actually if she was going to be involved in this life, she was also going to have to be inducted into this world of YouTube?
I think, that was weird, because at the time when I met her, I was very, very, very shy, very introverted, and the idea of maybe doing a podcast like this, I would just be like, no, not doing it.
Yeah.
I was comfortable in my little YouTube world making these videos. I just about built up enough to do that. I think, I filmed us meeting and I edited that and put that on the internet. I obviously asked her, I was like, do you mind if I put this in a video? She was like, yeah, don't really mind, do whatever you like. She got kind of emotional watching that video, because at the time she was pretty depressed, a job she didn't like, struggling to sort of make ends meet, and this little brief beautiful bit of human connection captured on video was something which she could watch back and be like, wow, there's some good in this world. So yeah, she seemed really happy about that. Time passed and I've sort of maybe assumed too much that she'd be all right with just being on camera and and then there was times where she was like, I'm not feeling that, like I really want, I think women can be quite complex and
especially if you're a man, it's very difficult to understand. We are very different, aren't we?
Yes. And there was times where I wouldn't quite understand why, but she wasn't okay with something being on camera a certain day or in a certain way, or something was up about it. So I just learned to be reasonably sensitive to that, and I am aware that some people like me have given up any sense of sort of privacy of their life because they want to share the journey, whereas other people would quite like to retain that independence and anonymity. And I actually love meeting people when I'm out and about, and they go, "Oh, Carl," and I'm like, "Hello," and I take a photo with them, and they chat about fishing, and then half an hour's passed, and I'm like, "Damn it, I actually I left the house to go grab milk," and I love it. Other people that I know who've been in my videos and are recognised are like, "I wish this wouldn't happen," and they're sort of like, "I don't really want to be in your videos anymore because it's kind of." I go to work and people are coming up to me, and I'm like, I don't want to draw attention to myself. I just want to disappear. But Omi has been amazing because she'll quite regularly have people, stop her in town when she's cycling to go get food or whatever, and she will give. It's actually beautiful because I can't quite believe her patience and like willingness to care, and she cares so much about the audience. Because she'll read the comments, even videos that she's not in. She'll pour through the comments. She'll be like, "Oh, Carl, someone said this. I just wanted to share it with you." I was like, "Oh, I read it too." So she'll meet people all the time, either when we're fishing together or when she's out and about. When she used to work at the garden centre, fishermen would come up to her, and sometimes it was really beautiful, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I watch your boyfriend's videos. It's great that you fish together. It's lovely." And then other times it would just be like, "Oi, you're that girl who's with Carl. Where's that lake?" Like, where's the farm pond? Get me a ticket. And Omi's just like, I don't know. Like, sorry, I can't help you there.
I've only ever been there blindfolded. Carl won't tell me.
Oh yeah.
No, but was there a moment when do you remember a moment when it must have been apparent to her that this wasn't going to be an ordinary
about, I don't know, 3 months ago, she sat me down and we were having dinner. That was it, and she was clearly very upset, and I was like, "Oh, what have I done now?" And what it actually turned out was that she was just missing seeing me, and I sort of unaware, because I'm so into my career and I'm so passionate about the fishing, I'd almost blindly just charged around America for 2 weeks, got back, driven up to Manchester to fish a lake for 3 nights, come back, sat at my desk and not spoken to anyone for days, locked myself in my room editing, and then went somewhere else. And then I sat down and had that dinner with her, and she was like, "Carl, like, I don't even see you." And that's when I was like, "Oh damn, you're absolutely right."
But if you don't drive it, no one's going to. I need to work hard, because if I don't, my Omi's potentially back at the garden centre.
Well, yeah, there's that. I could get away with working less hard. I look at my finances and I go, I'd be okay if I put out less content, but I don't want to put out less content. There's people out there who are desperate to see the next video, and I want to share it with them, and I want it to be better than the last video.
It's not a bind. This prolific nature of YouTubing isn't actually something that you struggle with. It's something that you embrace.
Even if the YouTube algorithm didn't favor consistent uploading, I'd still want to upload consistently, because I consistently have ideas and stories that I want to tell people. I think if it wasn't for her, I'd work myself into the ground, because I've done it plenty of times. But now I'd now like to think she's sort of a little bit of a dampener on my relentlessness, because she just puts a pause on it every now and then. She goes, "Carl, can we just can we go for a walk and have a little breather and just have a nice time?" And I'm like, you know what? I actually really needed that, but I'm not necessarily always aware of it, because I've got this video that needs to be done, and this next one's going to be amazing, and I found this bit of music which is going to work perfectly with it. And I'm like,
do you ever find yourself talking to her about these things and
too much?
Yeah.
Too much. Yeah, I look around, I'm like, don't you think, with the outro and the shot and the drone and then the underwater shot, and she's just like, "Yes, Carl, I think it will be great."
Her art is fantastic, by the way. And is that something that you can, between you, help to? Because presumably, if you're an artist, you want to you don't do that.
Yeah, she loves her painting and stuff. And well, she used to do the drawings because her sort of job at the cafe or pizza place, or she's done a lot of jobs, but those jobs weren't really paying enough for the rent where she used to. So she'd do pictures of people's pets, for cash, just to make ends meet. And now, because she works for me, and she doesn't have to work so many days, so many hours. Part of the reason for giving her the opportunity to do my admin side of things is that it isn't a full-time job. It's getting towards it, but it's not. And that leaves her time to paint and do maybe a bit more of that drawings and stuff for fun. So a little bit of the love for it maybe comes back. And then also, I've given her commissions, like asking her for her to draw all of the popular UK fish species for the book that we wrote, or the book that I wrote and she illustrated. And I'm thinking, well, I got her to do some fish drawings for like stickers and things, which I sell on my store. So it's been really nice to be able to incorporate her skills with my audience and the things that I'm doing. And I'm super happy when I'm out fishing and maybe she's with me and we're just walking along the river and some kid's fishing by the river and I look around like, hi, how's things? And the kid's really happy to see me. He's like, I watch your videos, and then I look down on the tackle box is one of my girlfriend's drawings on a sticker. And I that togetherness, that beautiful thing where multiple humans come together and make something that connects them and is positive for the world. You can't beat that.
I think I've missed out here, Cole, because as a patron of your channel, albeit like the lowest rung of, I didn't put my address on, and I think I've missed out on stickers or something, haven't I? What's going on? I need to go in and put my address on or something.
Yeah, you really should have done that. I said when we sort of took the YouTube channel, when we were trying to take the YouTube channel full time, and we were trying to work out whether or not it was actually possible to make fishing videos and pay the bills with it, we explored the option of using Patreon, which is basically like a site where people can support artists that they like. It can be music artists, it can be filmmakers, anything. We basically just said, like, we don't charge for our videos, we'll never charge for our videos unless YouTube just disappears and we've got no choice. Yep. We won't expect people to pay money to watch our films, but if you watch them, enjoy them, and want to support them, then you can give a few quid each month on the Patreon, and in return, if the people remember to put their address, then we send them, when we make new stickers, we'll send them out. If we make a beanie hat, we'll post them out to say thank you. So I mean, I'll sort you out.
Maybe I'm just I'll save it all up and then I'll get it all in one go when I find.
I'll sort you out. It's fine.
Thanks, mate. Anyway, I feel like we should concentrate a little bit on the bigger projects that you have recently.
We should talk about fishing.
Fishing,
on a fishing podcast.
Quest for a £40 carp. That wasn't the name of it. What was remind me of the name?
Oh yeah.
What was it?
That was my quest for a £40.
It was a quest.
Yeah.
I thought I'd misremembered that. But so that was the most recent like chunky film that you've done, wasn't it? And it looked like it took quite a while to pull together.
Filming wise, I think that was over a period of 2 years. I wasn't fishing the lake all the time, but between filming the first session and filming the last session, it was just about 2 years. Those longer films I want to make those sorts of films all the time, but you physically can't, because you can't have loads of campaigns running simultaneously. I called it Quest for a £40 carp, despite the fact that I've caught 40s before, caught 50s out in France, but I wanted to do a Quest for a £40 carp on this particular venue because it had them in, but I just hadn't had my turn. I hadn't been lucky enough to catch one of them, and it was kind of in a little way, it was an ode to Quest for a £20 carp that me and my bro did. Very, very feels like a very, very long time ago. Quest for a £20 carp was one of the first sort of proper carp films which me and my bro did. We were fishing with barbel rods because at the time we hadn't really done carp fishing, and it only felt right that with Alex moving on and doing his own thing. I was like, you know what, I'm going to bring things full circle. I'm going to do my quest for a 40-pound carp. And I couldn't quite believe it actually when I was packing away on my last session before the lake spawned, before the lake closed for spawning, and after so many bites, I was just not imagining that would be the 40. Sometimes things go right.
Occasionally. And where do carp sit in your affections, Carl? Because obviously we are in Korda Towers today.
Good. I'm definitely, when people say, well, you're a fisherman, I'm like, yeah, I'm a fisherman. I don't tend to say I'm a carp fisherman. In my eyes, carp are one of the amazing species that we have in the UK, and I target them when it's a good time of year to target them. I target them when I get the chance to target them. I think if someone was to say you could only fish for one species for the rest of your life, then yeah, it would be carp. But given the freedom that we have in this country, I will do a bit of everything. I can get a little fatigued if I just target one fish or one certain location for too long. I kind of I start, the grass is greener on the other. I'm like, I wouldn't mind catching a big tench or something. It probably goes on favourite list. Carp, pike in the winter, that's a thrill. You just can't beat a big old river pike smacking a lure or taking.
And I think taking
a bait.
The visual side of the pike fishing that you've done is an easy sell, isn't it? There's lots going on.
It's just a thrill, and you can't help but watch a pike come and smash the bait in the shallow, clear water, and just be like, "Wow, I want to do that. That's exciting."
But carp fishing can be a little bit. Well. Carp fishing can be a tad more difficult to keep a pace going through.
In a video, because on certain waters when you need to be sat behind 3 rods 4 days, how do you keep that energy flowing through the film? How do you keep people interested and excited? It's just a different type of person, I think, that's able to do that style of fishing. You get people who, to them, fishing is sitting on the beach of an evening, casting some feathers out, dragging in some mackerel, cooking them on the barbecue and having them with friends. That's fishing. That's, to them, what fishing is. Other people, they're not fishing unless they're on a snaggy old pit with 3 carp in and doing 30 nights for one bite. But how cool is that? Because everyone who plays golf tries to hit the golf ball into the hole in the smallest number of hits. I'm not belittling golf. I actually play golf sometimes myself. It's very fun. But fishing, you can't. Is there another hobby which is so immensely diverse that you can never complete? That every time you catch a fish, there's a bigger one out there, or there's another species, or another location, or another tactical method. And I feel like fishing is one of those. It's like one of those computer games you can't complete.
Thank God.
Thank goodness. You get people like Terry Hearn. Fished all their life, immensely talented, immensely devoted. Still, every year, he's got a target. Every year, he's got something that's keeping him pushing forward. Despite the fact that he's done it for so long and so well. That's incredible.
Because he recognises, as we do, I suppose, the subtlety. It might seem on the surface that actually he's targeting a single carp every year, and actually you can complete that. But then you move to the next, but there's a subtlety between these different...
Each campaign, each season that you do on a water is entirely different. And this year for me has been such a mad contrast, because I've had a water in the UK, 40 acres approximately, covered in pads, quite deep actually at one end, and challenging, like the most challenging piece of water I think I've ever fished. Nights and nights and nights, and pre-baiting and creeping around, wading through the lilies, clearing swims,
amazing
graft, and catching 1 carp in all that time. Probably the best carp I've ever caught, and
really?
Almost certainly that video will be out in a month or 2, and I'm super hyped for that. But on the contrary, I also went out to America with my brother and our American carp fishing buddies. We drove all the way across through the states to Idaho, where Blackfoot Reservoir is, 17,000 acres, depths that you could lose like the Empire State Building in, or it's just silly, massive. And we rocked up there and eventually found the fish and just hauled. Like, I just can't believe it that I've had one campaign in the UK where I caught 1 carp all year, and then I had that trip to the States where I caught 800 carp in a week.
800?
Well, I personally didn't catch 800. Between me and, well, between the group of us, the 4 of us who were fishing, or Alex did a bit of fishing, not a lot. He was more like filming and just having a good time drinking beer. But yeah, the 4 of us, like, we averaged, so for about 10 days, we averaged at least 20 carp each.
Yeah.
And there's 4 of us, just non-stop for 10 days. Just, I've never experienced fishing like it. And it brought to my attention that the carp that I caught in the UK, that mid-30 scaly, beautiful carp, that's, in my opinion, the best carp I caught in my life, mixed in during the America trip, I wouldn't have photographed it because I caught so many carp. Like, it baffles me that it's still fishing. You're still casting into a pond, still trying to reel the fish in and hold them and admire them and put them back. But on one trip, there's 800 carp, and on one trip, there's 1. But for some reason, that 1 matters so much. But I literally caught 800.
I can't get my head around 800 carp.
Okay, yeah. So picture the scene. You're in a bay. The bay is this one bay is the size of Rutland Water, one of the largest waters in the UK. That's the bay that we're in.
Wow.
And carp are crashing 10 yards out, but they're also crashing a kilometre into the distance and everywhere in between. And it's clear, but then when we take the drone up to get our sort of establishing shots of the venue, we realise that there's this wall of muddy water, and that churning is just carp.
Wow.
And none of those carp, okay, maybe not none of them, but like virtually all of those carp have never been caught before, because pretty much no one bothers travelling to such a remote lake. And they're all just big scaly mirrors.
I was going to say that I've seen pictures of fish from Blackfoot Reservoir.
They're weird. Yeah. You think, like, how did they get there from Oxford? Like, no, real talk. How did that even happen? Yeah, crazy venue. But yeah, two films that I've been working on that will be out at some point. I just need to edit them. Editing is long, but I'll get around to it. One with 1 carp, one with 800, and I don't know. That really shows how fishing can be so diverse. And for one person, that campaign sounds like hell. You got anglers who want to catch fish. They want to 3 rods on a spot and spod and whatever and haul. And then you got other guys who are like, oh no, that sounds but it's all fishing. It's mad how it's so diverse.
With 800 carp,
you can't get your head around that, can you?
Rich, have you ever caught?
I haven't caught 800 carp in my life. I confidently say that.
Have you filmed anybody that might be close?
Oh yeah.
You get your boys who are on linear and they are spanking them, like,
right.
But maybe not 800 carp in a session. I mean, it was silly. It was silly to the point where, because in America, the go-to method is these big balls of breadcrumbs wrapped around the lead. And I actually found out there's this law out there in that one state which says that you're not allowed to chum, it says you're not allowed to chum, which in English terms means you're not allowed to loose feed. The only thing that you're allowed to put into the water is what's actually on your hook. So I don't know whether we quite like dodged that rule by tucking the hook into the ball of like method mix. Is blurry. It's and we were only really learning about the sort of.
Is that what they call pack bait?
Pack bait, yeah. It's just a mix of like panko breadcrumbs, creamed corn, and so we were wrapping that around the big inline, then blasting it out with a couple of grains of fake corn. And you're putting it on the rest. You're turning around to go and get your second rod, and it's gone. And it's a 22 pound zip linear. You go back, you pick up the rod, you do it again, and it rips off again. It's a 24 pound fully scaled. And you're like, how many of them are there out there? And we did that relentlessly for days, because we were like, is there a massive one in here? And maybe there isn't, but we caught them up to about 37. Maybe
so when you're catching so many carp, are and you're thinking about what's the narrative here.
Oh, with the
you
film,
have to make it. We've got to get a big one. We're fishing for a big one.
I won't lie. After like 5 days of that, we didn't fish in the night. Impossible.
That was going to be my next question.
You wouldn't have an ounce of sleep, so we reeled in the night. With the film, it was tricky because it's like there's only so many times you can go, and here's number 674. Like that would be silly. But we, as most anglers feel, like you catch one, I want to catch a bigger one, and we were really pushing to try and find that Blackfoot 40, but we didn't quite hit the 40-pound mark. But what I did work out was that whilst the sort of American way is to fish these balls of pack bait, and it's definitely the quickest bite. In the UK, you think about a matchman on a heavily stocked venue, they're bagging up on method feeder. It's the same thing but scaled up. And these carp are not fished for, so carp in the UK in say a pressure day ticket, they would spook off of a big ball of white breadcrumbs. That is not something, if they've been caught a few times, that ball it's not going to be. But out there, it's like they see it and they just smash it. I got an underwater shot of a carp just coming in and inhaling the breadcrumbs and then taking the hook bait, or the whole lot. There's like, he's clearing up, he's having it all. He's not scared. Like he brushed the line, and the line like went across his face. He nudged the lead, and I was just like, "Is this fish gonna spook?" And of course he's not. He's never seen a lead before. Doesn't know what line is. Never touched it in his life. He's just going around. Yeah, crazy. But then I started being like, well, okay, this is silly. We're just catching so many, and I want to try and get a bigger one. I also want to have a little break. I want to get some footage rather than just running for rods constantly. So I fished single 20mm, 50mm pop up. Bite slowed down a little, but still catching plenty. I was like, I'll try 2 20mm. That kept going. I tried 3 20mm. I ended up with 5 20mm boilies. And I wish I could show you guys a photo because it was hilarious. It looked like something pretty naughty, to be honest, but it was like that long and this big size 2 hook, and I cast it in, and that was too far. I didn't get a bite on that one, but on like the 3 or 4 20mm boilies and a massive hook, yeah, less bites and slightly bigger average. But it was quite hard to cast, really hard to cast, because like you got your hook bait weighs more than your lead and it's spinning like that in the air. So then I started fishing single hook baits, and just stiff hinge rig, big hook, big pop up, and just gooed it up, and it was just like that on its own, no bait, just that into the cloud of mud. And that is a big fish tactic. It seemed to be the way. I caught maybe 4 or 5 carp a day instead of like 25. And each one was, I never had one under about 24, 25 pounds. And the other boys were catching 4-pounders, 10-pounders, 15. And that was cool. But every fish so scaly and untouched. I loved it.
Talk to me a little bit about the passion that those guys have, because these are lads that you've known for a long time.
Yeah.
How do they compare to English anglers in terms of because they're in a country where they are very much in the minority, aren't they?
Yeah, like America, they're bass anglers.
Yeah.
Like Americans, they're sea fishing, or they're bass fishing, or they're maybe catching like walleye. I think they're like their equivalent of zander or something. Carp anglers are thought of as a very special, unusual breed out there. It's growing. The carp fishing scene is growing out there. But I first started talking to those guys. It's their brothers, Brendan and Austin, and then their friend Brian. I started talking to, I think it was Brendan, over Instagram years and years ago when we were probably like 14, 15 years old or something. I messaged him. I was like, looks like you catch some nice fish. Can we meet up and fish together? He was like, yeah, sure, no worries. Like, yeah, this weekend. And I was just like, yeah, great. Where are you based? Waiting for like, I don't know, Essex. And he goes, Michigan. I'm like, Michigan, I swear I hadn't heard that one before. Look on the map, I'm like, they're on the other side of the ocean, and they're hauling these big, beautiful carp. So a few years passed, we managed to get out there and fish with them. And then we've done it sort of, not every year, but every couple of years or so. I missed out on the trip that my brother did a year or two ago to Dale Hollow, where they had carp up to 40 and beautiful fully scaled. But the passion and the love with that style of fishing is just the unknown. Every time we go out, the word in our head is unknown. That's for you guys. I'm interested, I guess, in what they're interested in. Are they influenced by the UK scene in terms of their ethics and their definitely. you see most people you see carp fishing in America are doing it with a bow and arrow. That's the tactic. That's the go-to method. Like the pictures you see in the tackle shops of carp, they're all dead laying on the grass, or they've got a finger under the gill. That's the photos you see of carp in the tackle shops. The fact that these boys watched the old Thinking Tackle DVDs and went, oh, we'll try this lead thing and 12-foot rod thing, and they got into it and became passionate about it. I think that's wicked.
Do they have to get their gear imported?
Yeah, so there are carp retailers now.
Oh, really?
In America, because it's
grown to that much.
It's getting There's online retailers in the States, and they're fully stocked with Korda gear and all sorts really. But when we go out there, it's not super simple. Like on this most recent trip, I had to order months and months ahead. I had to order through their retailer. I had to order like bivvies and some more bed chairs and things to be able to, because like bringing it all on the plane, it's doable, but you'd end up with the if you're checking in your bags and you're like, that's my 2-man bivvy, that's my bed chair, this is my rod pod, like it's not going to really work.
Not in hand luggage anyway.
No, you can't bring hooks on the hand luggage either, because it's sharp items apparently.
Or leads
or leads or scissors. They're pretty I've lost a tackle box through that, thinking I was going to tie rigs on the plane.
My dad told me a story once how he was fuming when he went on a plane and they took all his leads off him.
It's mad, isn't it?
They said, he was like, well, what am I going to do with them? They went,
throw them.
You might throw them at someone. That's what they said.
These wild landscapes though, Carl, that you go to, they feel like in a way they lend themselves a bit towards what Alex is doing, and actually he would have sort of, he'd probably have done a bit of like wild camping in those environments.
Yeah, when we were out on this trip, he took the truck off and into the distance. Neither of us had phone signal. He was like, I'm off on an adventure. I was a little bit nervous because I'm quite protective and caring of my little bro. And then he's making a fire somewhere in a bay, and he caught I think he caught a smallmouth bass and cooked it up on the fire and everything. I was like, wow, cool, good for you. That's pretty cool. But yeah, those trips which we do they normally, whilst we're there, they feel like survival missions, because it's not like, I forgot something, let's just pop to the tackle shop. Or the on-site toilets. None of that. No showers, no nothing. So we did 2 weeks of just trekking through just the wild prairies of northern mid, I don't know, somewhere in Idaho. Mad. And I love those things. But then it's also quite nice when you get home and you just go to some nice little slow flowing river and you're fishing for chub again or something, and it's all comes back down to earth.
I love the fact that the center of your fishing world is like probably among the most quintessentially Southern English landscapes that you can be in. Like that for me. We talked a little bit about before we started, but it evokes those kind of casting at the sun stuff for me with Yates's early writings about his exploring of that countryside in that sort of area of the country and these small ponds. And are they still important to you as an angler?
I think with all of the epic trips I've been on and all of the really cool opportunities I've had to fish really special places with massive fish, for some reason, unlike some other anglers, I can still walk through a field, knock on a farmer's door because I've seen a little muddy shallow pond on his land and go, do you mind if I fish in that pond? And go catch a little like wildy looking carp of about 2 pounds and be so hyped about it. I think it's because Alex and I grew up in mid Sussex. You've got the South Downs, you've got farmland, forest. It's quite typical English sort of area. And our first experiences of fishing were just that tiny estate lake, walking along the dam onto a little jetty or something and catching little rudd and things. So that it always feels like I'm home when I'm fishing on some silted up rubbish little farm pond catching pasties. But if you can appreciate that, if you can scale things back and go like, right, okay, yeah, I've caught 700-pound sturgeon and I've caught 250-pound sharks and whatever, but today I'm in peace next to less than an acre of water, and whatever takes that little bit of corn under my float, I'm happy. Then I don't know. It brings me a lot of satisfaction being able to still go and do that.
That's good. In a way, it's the antidote to an awful lot of carp footage, which focuses on efficiency. You're not interested. I know that you're very motivated by teaching people how to catch fish, but I don't think that necessarily you then take the next step, which is to be like, if you want to be super serious and catch more, like a million more, you need to fish 3 on a spot. You need to spom. You need to do this, that, the other.
I do. Yeah. So I look at the like the YouTube scene or the media that's put out there at the moment, and I think the likes of Danny and the Korda boys, they're kind of they're definitely at the top of their game. You put me next to those guys, and it'll be embarrassing. I will struggle. I won't struggle. I might catch. I'm not a dreadful angler, but they will have a system. They'll have their wrap sticks. They'll have one off of the spot, which might catch a bigger. They'll have perfectly, they've timed the distance that the bait falls back on a tight, like everything. They've thought it all through. Their hook bait is fine tuned and balanced and everything, and they'll smash it up. And I think my role, so to speak, it isn't that. I just like to try and teach people the very basics with my fishing tutorials channel. I think a lot of young anglers, especially people who are just getting into it, they're quite happy just to learn a knotless knot. They're quite at that very early stage in their angling career, they're quite happy to learn maybe that you need to pinch to split shot either side of a float so that it sits right in the water. And I'm happy to focus on that side of things. And then when those anglers level up, when they're like, oh, okay, I've caught a 20, I've caught a 30, now I'm really pushing the boundaries, I'm joining a syndicate, then they can watch the big boys stuff and hone it.
Do you know,
more.
Arguably the stuff you do, when you frame it like that, it's the most important moment. Those formative angling years will determine whether someone stays in the sport or drops out, depending on whether they have a small amount of success or they catch nothing.
I think I agree with that. And I do sometimes see comments on my channel and they say, oh, you made a whole video and the biggest carp you caught was a 6-pounder. Or maybe I'm on the river or something and I'm showing people how to do, I did one the other day, drop shotting for perch. And I saw a comment, they were like, you literally caught a perch that was 8 ounces, mate. Shut up. And I thought, yeah, I did. But that's what's going to happen when that kid goes fishing for the first time. He's not going to go out and smash out 3 3-pounders and a 4.
No, that would be to forget that there's a thrill in just that contact. Isn't
and I did a river carp film just last week. And I think the biggest was an 11-pound. Irrelevant. My film was to try and show that you can catch carp from rivers. It's challenging sometimes and you might have to pre-bait or you might have to find certain areas of the river. And I loved showing that and sharing that. But I didn't have to hold a fish that everyone would go, wow, Carl, you're an amazing angler. It didn't matter. It's just like, this is realistic. This is what you're realistically going to find and achieve in this situation. Of course, I still do films which are maybe quite unrealistic for the average angler. Traveling all the way to America to fish a 17,000 acre lake isn't a sort of thing that's attainable for everyone. But my aim with the channel is to try and do a reasonably broad spectrum of stuff, because some people like the big epic adventures and some people really just like the simple float fishing videos. For example, I go fish with my girlfriend on a little stream, catch gudgeon. That got as many views as the big carp campaign I did last year. So to stop doing one just because it isn't thought of as cool or isn't perceived of as being as carpy, I don't really mind.
While we're on the subject of relative success of films on YouTube, people are always fascinated with how YouTube works and what kind of a place it is like to have as your umbrella, isn't it? It's the place that you live and work, really. How has it changed? And also, people, I mean, you're gonna have to forgive me for asking, but people always want to know, like, how do you make a living out of YouTube?
So I guess the first bit of what you said was YouTube. How has it changed? In the early days, YouTube was just like this, you put videos on it and they stay there, and that means you can go back to them. And when we were first putting videos on YouTube, that was like the reason we uploaded them is because when we'd finished filming a video on our tiny little memory card, it was like, well, how do we keep that? We have to delete what's on the memory card because we want to go film more stuff. So it's like, stick it on YouTube because it just stays there and you can watch it anytime you like. Then when we realized there was people watching it, there starts to be layers, because then you realize you're being watched and you realize like you maybe need to try and entertain. Maybe you need to do things differently because people disagree with the way you did. You know, like we've learned so much because of that back and forth. But I think over the last maybe 5 years, it's suddenly jumped massively. Like COVID hit and it just everything rocketed forwards a few years. The money side of things and the fact that being a YouTuber is a career for many people now, that suddenly jumped.
And an aspiration as well.
Yeah, that suddenly jumped very quickly. It sort of went from like there's no such thing as a YouTuber to every kid in my mum's school class wants to be a YouTuber as their job, which is very interesting. And I don't know what that spells for the future of our society and our country, but I think YouTube is at least, you know, when I used to meet people, they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, I make fishing films and put them on YouTube. They're like, okay, and what's your job? I feel like, it's that. But now, yeah, people, I say to people, I'm a YouTuber, and they're like, oh, nice. They think it's kind of like a cool thing. Whereas back when I was first putting videos on YouTube, I was like the nerd. Oh, that's that nerdy kid putting videos on YouTube. What the hell is that? And now it's like, oh, you're a YouTuber. Wow, you must be rich or something. And that's not the case. YouTube, unless if you look at a channel and it says 1 million plus subscribers, they're probably
doing all right.
They're probably quite rich. They're really probably doing quite good, especially in a niche where there is quite a lot of advertising money. So I know people who've got same number of subscribers as me, same number of viewers, but they're in gaming. And there's a lot of money in gaming. There's new games coming out all the time. There's massive money behind those games to advertise and stuff. And they're making a killing. Like the kid I mentioned earlier who I was in college with, he's a millionaire from YouTube and doing gaming and stuff. He's got a lot more subs than I have, but he's smashing it. And I'm, good for him. But we're talking about fishing. And in the fishing world, there are very few fishing YouTubers who are actually doing it as a sort of a career and actually making enough to pay the bills and to actually do it and leave the security of their full-time job. For us, it was possible because of the people who supported us on Patreon. It was a small amount of cash, but it was enough to be like, all right, that's sort of like, that's an insurance policy.
Yeah,
like you can fall back on that just in case a sponsorship falls through or in case ad revenue on YouTube crashes. But then there's advertising. Advertising is where all the money in this whole tech online world seems to come from. And the opportunity for a brand to associate with a creator is obviously one which they are willing to pay for, providing that association is a positive one. Korda wouldn't support my channel if I was putting people off fishing or if I was making fishing look like a bad thing. But and so it was thanks to the sort of a group of things. I had to keep thinking about like different possible revenue streams, and so a little bit of merch, like selling some caps, some books, and the stickers that I mentioned earlier. That sort of helped as well. So between those three things, I can do it as a career, and more exciting than me making that money is actually the fact that I get to give my girlfriend a decent job.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing.
And I also get to pay my cameraman, and now my cameraman, when he goes to work, he gets to be on the bank filming fishing as something that he loves. And yeah, I see his gratitude for that, and that warms me to be able to offer him that opportunity.
How do you feel towards YouTube? Does it? I can't imagine whether it's this kind of paternalistic, platform that's fostered your growth, or is it something that because you work, on YouTube for YouTube.
You could say like my boss is YouTube, but thankfully, so some people hate YouTube. Some people are always slagging the platform off. Oh, YouTube puts too many ads on the videos, or YouTube is not giving my video reach or the algorithm. The algorithm. I hear people complaining about the algorithm all the time, but I think that it's good and bad. It's like any job. There's really good bits and there's also frustrating bits. Frustrating bits potentially are copyright issues and ads showing on the videos. Loads of the time I get someone commenting saying, "Oh, mate, why have you put so many ads in it?" I'm like, I didn't put all those ads in it. YouTube did, because they think that I used music that is copyrighted. I got some auto detection thing, and that's a pain. And yes, YouTube ads are annoying, and I've got ad block installed on my browser, so I don't see them. But when people say the algorithm is wrong or bad, and like, oh, my video isn't getting views, it's YouTube's fault or whatever, that one's not quite true, because YouTube, the algorithm used to favor videos. Whatever video had the most views, it would show up at the top. So like in the past, many years ago, it almost didn't matter what you typed into YouTube. Charlie Bit My Finger would be at the top because it was the one that had the most views, and therefore because it was the top, it got more views. So they realized that was broken very quickly, and they changed it to how many people put comments and likes. But then people would be like and comment, and then that would falsely inflate the number of views. So, and the algorithm has changed many times since then, to the point where now how well a video does is entirely dependent on how much the viewers like it. And I know that sounds like, how do they know? But it tracks how many people click on it, and then how many people actually watch and enjoy all the way through. So I'd say it's actually quite a fair system, but some people are exploiting it with clickbait. There's ways that YouTube are combating that these days. So if a video gets loads of clicks and then people go, "Oh, I was mugged off by that. It's not actually what they said it was in the title," then they rein it back.
How do you walk that line? Because your thumbnails and stuff, you have to have an element of that, don't you? But you also need, but presumably because you're delivering within the video, that's all fine. It's justified.
Yeah. Sometimes not. Sometimes you overstep. Sometimes you overstep the mark. Sometimes you don't go far enough. Right. And what I mean by that is, I've made videos which I've been like, this is my best video yet. I've worked so hard on this. People are gonna love it, and I launch it, and it just doesn't get many views, and I'm like, oh damn it. And then I changed the thumbnail from a picture of, say, the fish that I was holding to a shot of the lake, and then bang, it rockets to 1 million views, and I go, oh crikey, the video wasn't that bad, but I'd got the wrong thumbnail.
Talk to me about the high points in terms of your content. Like what does well and what you're most proud of. Do they always marry up?
Not really. Sometimes the ones that you spend the longest trying to get perfect are the ones that they just fall on deaf ears. People aren't that bothered about what you've done. I've done films which Alex and I did one where we intended to go out into the wild, catch fish, forage for wild food, and then cook it up and present it to two Michelin star chefs, who would then judge it and decide whose was best.
Love that video, by the way.
Thanks. And interestingly, a lot of people within the fishing world messaged me, like people from Nash, Fox, boys from Korda. They were like, "This is so different. This is epic. What a great!" And I was like, "Thanks, guys." But views wise, it just flopped. It just went nothing. And I filmed hard. I worked really hard. I planned that one and cared about it a lot, and it just didn't do very well.
This is the kind of fickleness of it, right? So I watch all of your stuff. I haven't watched that, and I can't tell you why.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It probably has something to do with the title and thumbnail not quite luring the viewer's interest, because a video sort of title and thumbnail is like a book cover. I'd say there's books out there that are better than any books that have ever hit bestseller, but because the cover wasn't very good, no one ever picked it up. And that's the...
Do you not I think it's more subjective, Rich, because does it come down to interest? Because out of all your videos, again, I've watched a lot of your stuff. That was one of the first I watched.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
it depends on what you're viewing. Because if you're viewing a certain type of content, then YouTube will show you more of that type of content. They'll present it to you. But yeah, it's a funny game because we did a multi-species challenge, and we spent 2 days traveling all over the country and we had like 20 different species or something, and it was
cool.
It was really fun and it was great. And whilst I was there, I was like, this is great. I got deep in the edit and spent about 2 or 3 weeks at my desk, only stopping for food and to go to bed and wake up in the morning and do it again. And I started thinking, like, this is really not any good. I just got to that. I don't know. It's the creative process, and I talk about it with John Wilkes in your media from your media team, and he knows it just as well as I do. It's like this process where you go, oh, I've had a great idea. This is going to be awesome. This is incredible. This is the next big thing. Oh wait, no, this is dreadful. I'm dreadful. I hate myself. Why am I doing this? And then the resolve at the end of it is, oh, it wasn't actually that bad. In fact, it was quite good. And I went through that, and the darkest part of the edit, I said to my girlfriend, I'm not launching it. I know I'm nearly done editing, but this is rubbish. Like, because I'd watched it so many times, and I was too meticulous about all the little nitty gritty that didn't really matter. And I put it up, and I was like, I'm not even going to check my phone. I don't want to look and see how many views it's got. And then I looked like 3 or 4 days later, it was the best one we've ever done.
Right. Mad.
It's like crazy. And I just thought, oh crumbs, your perception of something that you've made can be very, very skewed. My girlfriend will paint, and she'll paint something and go, oh Carl, it's rubbish, I don't like it, it hasn't come out right. I look at it and go, wow, that's incredible, that's better than any of the ones over there. And she's like, oh, I really like that. It just, your own perception of yourself is often very warped. It's easy to be objective about other people's work. You look at someone else's work, you go, that's great, well done, mate. But then you do it to yourself and you're critical and you're saying it's rubbish. It's like, it's kind of strange. But yeah, that one did really good. I was so happy.
If you could point people towards a video in your archive that sort of is the most Carl and Alex thing, let's say, because obviously that, your Fish with Carl is yet to kind of, have that huge legacy of video.
It's early days. Yeah.
Where would you point them if they wanted something that was like the quintessential Carl and Alex film?
Carp campaign wise, we did Reservoir Diaries. We did
amazing.
We did 3 of those episodes, and that was very much trying to capture the love of campaign fishing, setting yourself a big old challenge that you think, I can't possibly go and catch that one fish from 280 acres, and then setting about achieving it and not stopping until you have. So there's those ones that are really nice. And then the Carl versus Alex series is more silliness, is us being really competitive and being typical brothers with banter and whatever, and enjoying our fishing along the way. I think those films were probably.
Which one is the most watched of all of your stuff? Do you
know?
Well,
this is the silliest thing, because as I was saying, like, sometimes you do a video and you're like, nah, not sure about that, and then it goes mad. I went out to Japan because I was just really curious about those bright, colourful koi fish, and I was always, as a kid, I'd look at colourful koi in the canal or in the village pond. I go, oh, they're cool. And then I went to a shop because I'm going to buy one. I was like, it's 50 quid for a fish that's like this big. And then I'm like, oh, I think I'll get a goldfish because it's like £2. And then I started thinking, well, what's the actual difference? So most people would go and ask the shopkeeper, oh, what's the difference? I was like, I'm booking a flight to Japan. I'm going to make a documentary about it. And my family were like, okay, that's interesting. Like, good luck. So I went and did it and got back after a really cool. It was supposed to be a holiday. I told my girlfriend it was a holiday. And then I shot a documentary whilst I was there and stayed up late every night getting footage. And
she would have been, no doubt, completely unsurprised.
Yeah, that's normal for me. And then, posted that. And I was almost like, I'll put it on a new YouTube channel so that no one sees it. Literally, because I was so nervous about the fishing audience seeing this koi carp documentary. It's a bit random. It's off topic. But then I thought, no, I'll put it up. And people will probably hate it. I'll get bad comments saying, oh, this isn't fishing. What's going on? And then I'll maybe have to delete it. Yeah, 9 million views. And I mean, that was unexpected, especially as I went and did it, and I was like, well, it's actually costing a bit, with the flights and staying in a hotel and then getting a rental car around, and food out there is expensive. And I got home, I was kind of like, wow, that was quite
extravagant.
A bit of a waste of money. I better work hard this month to try and earn that back. And then, I put the video up and it earned back what I'd, tenfold what I spent on the trip. And that was the thing that said to me, when you have an idea, just run with it. You might think it's silly, you might think it's a bit different to what you've done before, but just go and do it. Why not?
Is being interested in the world and having that almost that journalistic angle on things, like wanting to know how things work and drill down into it. Is that important in your filmmaking?
Yeah, I was just a nosy kid. Nosy kid, and never satisfied with, never quite satisfied with myself, so to speak. Like, I always want to speak more articulately. See, that's quite a long word, and I did that, so I'm proud of myself there. Always want to increase my knowledge, and be a better person, I think. Like the other day, I thought to myself, okay, I've gone and bought some fish food for my fish in my garden, and I bought the slightly more expensive one. It was like £4 more than the cheaper pot, and I thought, I've done that because I like my fish. If I can do that, I can give money to charity. So I just signed up to some local hospice charity donations thing, and I thought, I can do it, so I will. I want to be a better person. Always just want to try and be a better person. And that was wanting to be a better person and wanting to make entertaining content came together a little while ago, because we realized we'd made some profit from the channel. Because COVID, everyone was sitting at home watching YouTube loads. They weren't going out, they were just sitting online, and the views went crazy. So we kind of cashed in a little, and we looked at it and we went, we've made £10,000 like this year, just bonus, just because of the ads. What should we do? Start paying off the mortgage, start do something. Like mum and dad were like, yeah, definitely the mortgage. And then I said to Alex, I was like, do you reckon we could just like buy loads of fishing tackle and give it to a load of kids and just see their faces? And Alex was like, we could do that, but the mortgage. And then we went in the tackle shop, and my card wasn't declined, which was a relief. And we just drove around the country just giving fishing rods to kids, and we filmed it, so it was kind of like entertainment as well. But that just felt so good, and that was such an exciting thing to do. But yeah, stuff like that, things that aren't your average fishing video. I'd like to explore just fish and fishing related, but not necessarily just session videos, because I think that can become a little stagnant if you do it too often.
What's the biggest bottleneck, Carl, in your business, if you like? Because if you're the guy in front of the camera most of the time, and you're the guy editing now, you can't share that task out. When you're editing, you can't be filming, right? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, when Alex and I did it together, we were we ran very smoothly. We had arguments, obviously, and brothers, they have difficulties, but knowing each other really well meant it was like, you do that, yeah, I'll do that, yeah, and loads of stuff got made very fast, and it was quick, fluid. Having to do it all on my own was quite a shock, and I'm not willing to go and find some freelance editor and just be like, I'll edit my next campaign film, because I know it won't have I want every film I make on my main channel, I want it to have my heart and my soul in it. Like, I want it to be a bit of me that people are watching in that.
How common is that on YouTube?
What, YouTubers editing all their own stuff? Once they are the size of my channel, it doesn't really happen. Normally a channel with the sort of size of my one, unless it's a very simple production. So a friend of mine makes gaming videos. He's one of the biggest gaming channels in the UK. I think actually he's smashing it, and he edits his own stuff because it's a case of setting up the camera, starting recording, starting the screen record, and then he plays the game for an hour and then launches it. And he looks at me and goes, "You spent 2 months faffing around with an edit for one film." I'm like, yeah. He just thinks I'm bonkers. But my new cameraman helps with the tutorials channel because I acknowledge that I can't do it all on my own. It's physically impossible to just do it all. And I wish I could. Like, I always want to do it myself. Whatever
I feel like
it is.
You try. I feel like you would actually try.
Yeah, and I have, and I did for years. And it's just trying to do it all on your own is silly, and you hurt yourself. But with the tutorials channel, it's sort of a little bit more. It doesn't have to have my
stamp over it.
As long as it's well pieced together and you can follow the steps, I'm happy to outsource some editing of that. But the emotion for me in the videos is so important, and I think if the editor can't relate the emotion that fishing gives you, then how is the editor expected to make the viewer feel the emotion? Sometimes you just need to choose the track that really resonates with what's happening in the footage. And some random guy in an office, who I've outsourced editing to, can't do that. But I feel like I can. So I don't upload as much as most YouTubers. In fact, my upload schedule is, especially this year, shoddy. And I'm nervously talking about this because I never like to step backwards. I never like to say, I hate the idea that I look at this year and I haven't done as good as last year or haven't put out as much or whatever. But it's a fact. Less content. But I'm making adjustments to my lifestyle to make it more possible. Getting help, basically, from friends and family. I got my dad. I think he's doing it this morning. They're sorting out my merch. So he's sitting in my old bedroom at my parents' house with a stack of simple fishing guidebooks and baseball caps and sticker packs. He's putting it in envelopes and sending it out to viewers of the channel who've bought it through the store. And he wanted to help with that because he kind of doesn't want to do gardening anymore. He's getting a bit... You're not getting old, Dad. I'm not saying that you're old. I'm just saying your body's shot and you don't want to do gardening, which you'll agree with me on. So yeah, that sort of thing is so it's giving that to him, giving the admin to my girlfriend, accepting that this new cameraman, Cal, he's going to do some tutorial stuff. I'm making it work, and I'm going to make sure that I make a success of this new journey without my bro. I say without my bro. He's still in videos. He's still going to be be here.
Do you speak regularly?
Yeah, like we speak all the time. We're still close. We just don't live in the same house anymore. So part of the split, so to speak, was that he moved into his own house, and or he didn't. No, I think he moved back to mum and dad's. It's interesting. He's kind of like living in a van one week, and then he's renting a flat the next week, and now he's living with my parents. I don't really know. A bit of everything. But yeah, there's been a sort of a separation, and I of course, to respect the amount of time and the amount of work that he put into this journey, I had to give him a good. He chose to leave, and I could have said, "Well, okay, bye," but I chose to give him financially the support and acknowledge the journey that we'd been on. Essentially, like selling me the company that we were 50-50 on. Yeah. And I'd like to think that before that money runs out, his new channel is gonna really pick up, and
it's doing really well, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's still a long way off of making any money back, but he's got it. He's got the minerals,
and also that outdoor living side of things. It's you'd like to think kind of limitless, isn't it?
Well, there's the potential that his breaking out of the niche of fishing might end up doing him a massive favor, and one day his career could be all over the world, and it could be amazing. And he's the sort of kid who's got that vision to go and make it happen.
In terms of Korda, how determined were you that when you entered into these kind of discussions that editorially you would be your integrity was kept?
Yeah, because I'll hold my hands up. When we decided we were going to just do YouTube full time, we weren't going to be associated with Nash anymore. There was this feeling of like, well, someone will want to be associated with this. Someone will support us to make this work. But we were also totally prepared that if no company was willing to support our channel, we would do it our own way. We'd get the support through the Patreon, or we would start selling our own boilies. We were willing to try anything to make the YouTube career work out. But I spoke with Damien, Danny, Ali at the time, and those boys really impressed me. Like, as much as I was sort of pitching to them an idea, they were also looking at me going, we could do something together. This would be really beneficial for both of us. And I think the deal that we sort of did with Korda was that they would just make sure that there was enough money there to make all the films, to travel to all the places, and to make some nice stuff. And they weren't gonna tell us what we could or couldn't do. They weren't gonna say, oh yeah, by the way, your hooks have got to be X, or you've got to start using this or that, which was music to my ears, because I hate being told what to do. And truthfully, if they turned around and said to me, like in those early discussions, yeah, so you're gonna have to glue your hook baits every time you cast out, or you're gonna have to do this, I was willing to be like, nope, absolutely not. I'm not being told how to fish by a corporation. But the guys were so supportive. They were just like, oh yeah, we've watched your videos for so long, and it'd be sad to see the journey come to an end because you can't pay the bills. We'll cover them. Good luck. And I was like, okay, do you want to put like the Korda logo on somewhere? And they were like, nah, that's not we're not bothered about that. I was like, okay, do you want me to come in your office and like edit your masterclass? And they were like, no, we've got people doing that. I was like, oh, okay. So you just want us to go fishing and inspire like the next generation of anglers? They were like, you do that, boys. Was this a meeting with you and Alex? Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, the first couple were just me.
And when you got back into the van, what was that phone call like to Alex when you were feeding back from the first?
He was just like, oh wow, we're not
going broke.
Yeah, we're not going broke. That's cool. My fears was that, because from the outside, for some reason, the rest of the industry was all like, oh yeah, no, Korda, they'll tell you where you can and can't go. They'll tell you what you can and can't use. Or Danny's a control freak and he'll make you use a certain rig or something. And then it came to it, and I was just like, no, literally none of that. What has Danny told me? He's told me, when you're struggling with your mental health, or you feel stressed, try these techniques. Or when I've been stuck as to somewhere to go, he's gone, oh, we've bought an embryo water, or we've got a new lease, try that. He's just come up with just solutions and answers and support, and that support has just, I'm just, more than anything, I'm just really grateful, because I'm now living the life in the fishing world that I wanted to, and I'm creating the style of content that I want to make without the shackles of logos everywhere and like, oh, I better get that shot of this or whatever. I'm happy to use the Korda stuff. If the Korda stuff started letting me down, like genuinely, if I went out my next session and the hook started straightening out, and I realized, oh, they've gone to some really cheap Chinese supplier and got a load of, I don't know, line that just snaps, or so. If I was disappointed, I'd be like, yeah, we can't do this, because integrity and the trust of my viewers is massively important. You see it all the time. You see someone grow an Instagram following, become popular, and then all of a sudden it's like, this is the best thing in the world, and this product is the greatest product ever since the product that they used the week before, which they said was the greatest. It's I just don't want to be that guy. Never, because I want to be in the videos and in person on the bank exactly the same person. It's vitally important. And I go back to like, I go back to being a kid and going to the Big One fishing show in, I can't remember where it was, Farnborough, I think it was, like big fishing show, and I'm so excited because this day I'm going to meet my hero. so excited. And I brought my little video camera so I can capture the moment that I shake my hero's hand and he signs the book and I meet. Like, I wouldn't say I was in love with the guy, but like I was massively inspired by the guy. I watched everything he was in, and then I meet him, and it's just quite rude. Like, tell him, what are you pointing that camera at me for? Are you going to buy the book or not? And I'm just like, this is what I felt like my life had built up to. And from that day onwards, I was like, if I ever get the chance to have a TV show or a popular fishing series, or I write a book, or people want to meet me, if ever kids want to meet me, I'm going to hug that kid. I'm going to give that kid my time of day, and I'm going to, because you don't realize how important role models are to young people. And I thought back then, if I'm ever a role model, I don't want a persona on camera. I don't want to act. I don't want the camera to start rolling and be like, so guys, I'm really fun and exciting and great guy. And then off camera just be horrible. Like if one day I'm a grumpy old man, I'll be a grumpy old man on camera so that I'm not deceiving anybody.
which begs the rather obvious question. Will you be a YouTuber at 75?
I highly doubt it. Realistically, you look at how the world works and how, you go back in time and you had artists, you musicians who were famous for decades. The likes of, Beethoven. People still listen to his music now. Everyone knows him now. That was a long, long time ago. And he didn't have 15 minutes of fame. He had 15 centuries or whatever it is. I don't know history. Then these days, things move faster. And with the internet, things move really fast. And people, like the Love Island generation, they have seconds of fame. It's this split second of like, they're popular and they can make a load of money and then they can buy a nice car and be all cool and fancy, and then they're just forgotten. Will that happen with my channel? Absolutely. There'll be a day when nobody knows who I am. No one gives a damn. I think people get to a certain age and they start to think about legacy. They start to think about what they're leaving behind. I know that however great what I leave behind is, I'm still getting forgotten. Like, I just make fishing videos and some people enjoy them. I want people to think highly of what I do. I want to have integrity and I want to make nice stuff that people like. But I acknowledge that there'll be a time, and I don't know when I slip away because there's someone younger, better looking, better at angling, more entertaining, who also does YouTube and comes along and smashes my channel out the water, and everyone goes and watches them. And when that happens, I hope I do it gracefully, because I would want to see someone else live the life I've lived so far. And I'd love to see other people smashing it. The other day, I met up with some other YouTubers, and they were kind of like, why are you helping us grow our subscribers? Like, we're competition for you. In a sense that one day their channel will be competing for views with mine. And I was just like, one day, if you're getting more views than me, you've done something right, and I'm proud of you. Like, fair play. I always think of the YouTube scene as being a community, and most of the YouTube fishing scene doesn't really help each other. Like, most of these channels, they're all just doing their own thing here and there. But sort of, I'd like to do more filming with them, with other people, to sort of share the love. Because if there's another YouTube channel and they start doing really good and they're making great stuff, and they start getting loads of views, that's bringing people to YouTube for good quality entertainment. Yeah, that's a win-win.
We're not tribal about our viewing habits, are we? Entirely. I would watch good content, whether it was on your channel or somebody else's.
Yeah.
So bringing people to YouTube is a good thing for everybody.
Yeah, I think so, definitely.
There's not sort of this mutual exclusiveness between YouTube channels.
I remember,
I'm not watching Carl anymore. I'm watching.
Yeah. I remember a few years ago, there was like almost some like beef between different fishing YouTubers. One was saying, oh, the other one fakes their videos. The other one was saying, oh, they bought subscribers, or this happened or that happened. There was all this drama between them. But I think that people got over that pretty quick and realized that if people are doing well, just be happy for them. Like that, I don't see the rest of people on YouTube as competition. I just see it as like colleagues. Like, they work for YouTube too. You know, I met up with a guy who does river fishing videos. He's sponsored by Pure Fishing, I think. And good for him. Like I happily told him like certain editing techniques that I found that work well for me, and I happily told him like ways that I grew my YouTube channel so that he can do the same. And I watched him putting into practice some of those things. I'm like, good for you.
What about fishing without YouTube? We touched briefly on fishing without a camera, but you know, let's follow through this line that perhaps one day your channel is a beautiful legacy. What are you going to do? What are you going to actually fish for?
I think the last video would be me sitting in a chair, and realistically, the thing that would make it happen would be probably either a freak accident, like I go blind. I think it would be hard to make videos if you were blind, or my body just gets tired and heavy, much like I'm seeing happen, you know, to my dad. If I tried to drag my dad to the river carp spot the other day and we had to trek through like fields and fields, he'd struggle. So yeah, when that day comes and I'm like, I look at myself like I can't actually physically get out there and make all this stuff anymore, and I'm getting on a bit, I'll sit there and I'll be like, talk about the things I'd done, talk about like the different journeys, and then sort of leave the video hopefully with a load of advice for anyone who wants to do the same thing and be the next Fish with Carl channel. That would probably be my plan. That wasn't your question, was it?
No, but it leads quite nicely on to you might then pick up a rod. Where would you go?
I see. Yes, somewhere I could park behind and swim.
I mean, by then you'll have fished thousands of venues, so you'll probably know the one.
Yeah, I think when I go fishing for fun without the cameras, quite a lot of the time I go and catch minnows or gudgeon or little dace, because if I'm not filming it, then I'm quite happy just to do whatever I'm doing. Right? There's a ditch, basically a drainage ditch, not far from my house, and if I go down there with a tiny little rod and a hook and some maggots or worms and I catch a little perch, I'm like, sweet, cool, that's my like fishing fix for the day. I'm not, the videos help me chase bigger and better adventures, because creating that story makes me want to make it bigger and better and more exciting. But personally, I'm happy wherever I'm fishing and whatever I'm fishing for. So if I'm not making films anymore, probably just do the same thing I'm doing now, but maybe with slightly less like long treks to spots, or like maybe I wouldn't pre-bait so regularly. I'd just take it easy and be like, I might blank, but I will.
For me, Carl, honestly, like, because I think it's because I grew up across the field from where my parents' house still is. There's a small brook, heavily polluted when I was a kid, and it still kind of is. But I think it always made me dream about what it would be like if that shallow brook had fish in it.
Yeah.
So all of your like stream fishing, I love all that. Yeah. And actually, a place where I used to live, close by, there was a kind of sewage works and a straightened stream, like a ditch in the field. And I remember walking it one winter's day, and there were dace there. I think I'd spotted dace, and the more unlikely it is, the kind of greater the thrill, I think. And you see a lot of that with the bass stuff as well. Where's the craziest place you can fish? But for me, these little environments will always be fascinating. And I know that's not very big carp, you know, because obviously there's a danger that we go for bigger and bigger and bigger. But hopefully there's other people like me who just love that small stream.
I think it just takes you back to being a kid and fishing for the very first time. I think that's what that does. I think as a child looking into, you know, a tiny little pool of water or a trickling stream, that kid wonders what's underneath the water. And if you're still doing that as an adult, still driving over bridges and peering over the side, I actually failed my first driving test.
Same.
And the one of the reasons the instructor gave me was, what on earth happened on the bridge? Why did you suddenly slow down? Which was, I was like, damn, did I really do that? I was like, I can't not do that. Like, if I was a train driver, everyone in the back would have a broken nexus. I'd be like, oh, that looks decent.
Yeah.
Why did you go over a bridge? But once you're a fisherman, that's it for life. And my brother, yeah, he's moved on. He's got loads of other hobbies, but I tell you what, he's still stops, looks, peers over the bridge, tries to see if there's any chub or whatever.
You got anything planned with just you and him going fishing? Do you think that can still happen?
Yeah, I mean, I just before the end of the pike season, we went out and just did a few hours down the river. It's almost quite good that he's less into the fishing now, because he'll sit there and cook up some breakfast for me. I'll be getting the rods out and he'll be like, "Carl, do you want a sandwich? I'm just making it." And I'm like, "Yeah, sweet."
And let's be honest,
that's a good fishing buddy. That is.
Less chance of him catching the big one.
It always used to be the case that he would land the big one and I would be scratching around for little ones. And finally, with Carl and Alex going their separate ways and running their own different channels, I now catch the biggest fish on the Fish with Carl channel. Apart from when I bring my cameraman.
Tell me he's not
oh, he's just a jammy little...
Is he?
Yeah. We went barbel fishing on the Trent. Adam Rooney invited us up. He said, "I'll fish out." Yeah. And of course, the last bite of it was the second to last bite of the day. It was just getting dark. And he's like, "Oh, it's my first ever barbel, Carl." And it pops up. It's like 13.5 pounds.
Wow.
Oh, that's bigger barbel than I've ever caught in my life. You're sacked. You're out. You're not fishing on the next shoot. Stick behind a camera. Know your place.
How often are you out then? Week to week with Cal, let's say.
Yeah, so on average, the best situation is that I spend one day out on the bank filming, and I spend 6 days editing and organising and processing all the pictures and backing up the footage and editing the film together and replying to comments and all the many other things that need to happen. And then I'm back out for a day. But then what happens is we go out and shoot for 3 days, and that means I need to stay at home for an even longer period of time. And I think lots of people probably watch the videos and think, I must fish like every week. And sometimes I will be out for like little short sessions here and there. But then there's been stints where I haven't been fishing for 2 months because I'm well behind on editing. And what I should be doing right now is editing straight for 2 or 3 months. But the bug has just got me bad. And every time an opportunity comes up to go fishing somewhere, I'm like, I know I've got 3 or 4 films that need editing, but I want to go fishing. It's like I'm my own boss now. And me and Alex can't be like, "Hey, we haven't uploaded. Come on, chop, chop." And I can't say the same thing to him. It's just me saying to myself, "You really should edit that video. Like it needs launching." And then I'm still, because I love fishing so much, I'm like, I'll just nip down the river for the evening. I end up doing the night sleeping on my unhooking mat.
So when you make these posts and says, "Look, guys, I'm really sorry. I'm working on something at the moment," we know that actually
I'm trying.
Been exposed.
Yeah, I am trying. No, genuinely, this spring, so Alex left, I was paranoid about the channel going south, and I thought the views were going to drop off a cliff. I thought Korda was going to cancel the sponsorship. I thought everything was going to go bad. So I worked crazy hard. I filmed so much, and the filming and the fishing that I was doing, I went 110% full on. And now, that's creeping up on me. I'm kind of tired. I'm aching quite a lot, and now I need to edit. And I'm going to edit for a good stint. I've said it on air. I must now do it. Oh no, I had my fingers crossed.
That was a subconscious.
Yeah, I didn't do that intentionally. I'm going to spend some time at the desk after this.
I think by the time this is out, you'll have smashed through it.
Probably, yeah. And I'll actually have posted some more videos.
It's going out next week, by the way. So.
Oh, is it?
No, I'm only messing.
I've got some work to do. I promise, guys. People who watch my channel, I don't know which camera I'm looking at. Please don't think that I'm ignoring you. I'm uploading very soon. Lots of good stuff.
How accessible are you to your YouTube followers in terms of like ideas? Like, what if they want to see you do something? Would you do it?
So I read every comment, and that's sometimes it's like I have to scroll quite quickly and scan them and get them all in. But I want to read every single one, because one of those comments will be something really heartfelt, really meaningful and important. And it's important that I acknowledge and respond. I'll sit in bed in the evening, I might do an hour, I might do 2 hours, and get back to as many people as possible. Acknowledge what they've said. If it's criticism, if it's positive, if it's whatever, acknowledge it. I have seen this, I thank you. Or I'm sorry. As far as ideas, quite a few of the video ideas have come from people, and I've messaged them and said, that's an amazing idea, we'll try and do that, we'll try and get around to doing that. Accessible, not very, because there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people who direct message and comment and whatever, and I sadly can't make time in the day to fish with everyone who asks, can I go fishing with you? I wish I could, but I'd never make another video again if I took every person fishing who asked. But yeah, I try my best, and I do spend considerable periods of time responding to comments and acknowledging people who've made.
And in terms of stuff that they want to see, is there a percentage that make it through to film?
Quite a lot of the time, someone will suggest something, and it's a cool idea, but it doesn't quite work. As in, they haven't foreseen the technicalities of it. They haven't foreseen, actually, I can't send a fishing rod to Mars and catch an alien. It's a great idea, but like, it's unrealistic. So like, there's loads of stuff like that, which is I just go, sorry, mate, I can't just nip over to the Amazon and catch an arapaima just because you put a comment saying you want to watch it. One day I'd love to, but a small percentage of people's ideas come to fruition. And often there's opportunities that come up because someone messages and says, I know of somewhere that you might like to film at. And obviously that comes with difficulties, because if they say, I know somewhere that you could film at, I know somewhere you could fish at, but you can't film because it's hush, I have to respect that. However, if they come to me and they say, look, this is all above board, you can film here, it's legit, you can fish here, then I has to go through like a series of, I have to vet it to make sure that it's all okay. And yeah, I've met up with quite, like, over the years, probably 1,000 people I've fished with, like, because I've been doing it for many years, and met all of my, literally, I've met all of my best friends through fishing. Met my girlfriend through it. All the good positive influences on my life and negative ones have all come through angling. I owe fishing. I owe it.
Is there any big hole in your filming and fishing CV that you want to plug? Like in terms of maybe you haven't gone and fished the Spey, for fresh run salmon, or what kind of things would you like to tick off?
We did get some salmon, but we got them on jointed Rapala lures, not the whole like double-handed fly thing. That was complicated. Yeah. I was like doing all this waving around and then like that, and I'm like, oh, it went out perfect, and then suddenly whack, like the fly hits you in the back of the head. That was tricky actually. There's always things I want to do. I'd love to go to Thailand and do some of that crazy like multi-species fishing they do on the Pei Lakes. I know to some people that's not angling, but I've never done it before and it might be fun. I'd love to the one really big one that I always come back to that I get massively jealous of your Gary Newman is because he's caught Marseille from India.
We had him on the Guru podcast to talk about him, and mate, they're the most mental fish.
They are incredible. It's like a cross between a barbel, a carp, and a Nile perch or something. They're just a fish that just isn't like anything else.
Some of the, because there's a few different kinds, and some of the colours,
the golden ones,
the golden Marseille. He said that was the best thing he's ever caught.
Yeah, and he will agree. Best fish you could ever catch.
And from some very sacred water bodies as well in India.
This beautiful, raging, clear flowing river coming through the mountains. You got to trek all the way, camp out, and it's just so cool. I'd love to do that one day, but
I think you should do it soon.
Yeah, well,
because they're endangered, aren't they? Their habitat is threatened, certainly, isn't it?
It's changing very quickly, and they've made it illegal to fish on many of the stretches where they used to do the films, and John Bailey and the likes of John Wilson and stuff. When they went and filmed all those locations, most of them are off limits now, and it like the dream is kind of fading away, but.
You can do this. I want to see. I want to see you plunging into. It's the corvery, isn't it? Plunging in there with your GoPro on your chest, like
fighting
getting dragged down
trying
boulder
to spoil
boulder.
you. That is the dream. Now we're talking about it. I'm like, I want to get out there and do it now.
You've got to take me and Rich with you, though. Obviously.
Yeah, I mean, if you pay for the flights, it's a deal.
So if you could pay for the flights, I'll do some like long lens wildlife.
Oh, you'll shoot some. Yeah,
Perfect.
You contribute towards the video, and it's all good. Yeah.
Then you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything other than fish, though.
Wow, that's the dream, man. That's the dream.
Yeah. So Marcia, but I mean, these kind of great big the glamorous species. There's dozens, aren't there?
Yeah. And then there's
Iberian barbel, that kind of thing.
Arapaima.
Yeah.
The river monsters stuff.
Can you collab with Jeremy Wade? Come on.
I wish I could. I messaged him on Instagram and I went to one of his shows, one of his sort of live talks, and never got close. I never got the opportunity.
I know someone who filmed with him the other day.
Yeah.
And he sounds like the nicest man.
Yeah. It seems like it. He just doesn't reply to my messages.
Come on, Jeremy. I don't imagine he's that social media savvy, though.
No, he actually really doesn't like social media very much. He uses it to promote his show, but yeah, he's quite. He comes across very tough, and he is a very brave, tough man. But he a sensitive soul at the same time, by the looks of things.
If you haven't, have you read the book, the Somewhere Down the Crazy River? If you haven't, it's a great. You can't get them very easily, but it's. I'll lend you mine. It's an amazing book that charts his kind of early wanderings with a guy called Paul Boot, who was another sort of adventure fisherman. But that book is. Fishing with tiger fish and like getting malaria and things like that.
I don't want to do that bit, and I don't want to do the plane crash because he almost died in a plane crash.
Yeah.
I'll miss out on that bit, but I'd love to do all of this big adventure stuff and catch these sort of bucket list species from all around the world. But at the same time, I have to always remind myself of my roots, where I come from, and where the people are who watch my videos. And these people who watch the films. Realistically, many of them may never have the chance to do those things. And for that reason, I will always, until YouTube isn't a thing, or until my YouTube channel it just fizzles up and disappears, I will always make videos of catching chublets in the stream or feeder fishing for roach, tench, whatever. I will always do that because that's where I came from, and it's where the people who watch my films can realistically go and do that themselves.
Well, I'm really, really glad that that's always going to be the case, because for me, that's the sort of stuff I would watch like every time you did it, mate. But so thank you very much for coming in, Carl. I think we'll draw a line under it for now, but I really hope that we can get together again sometime soon, because your stuff changes so often, and you're so busy that. We could fill another 2.5 hours quite easily, I'm sure.
Is that how long we've been going for?
About 2 hours.
My apologies. We'll leave you to your day.
Cheers, Cole.
That's all right.
The Thinking Tackle Podcast.